certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Boo! You missed your chance of playing the Killer Buffy intro.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Rank. This is going to be a fun one, David. This is going to be a unique one as well because I've only done this like a couple times before, but I'm not going to be participating in this episode just because like I haven't seen all the seasons. I did start watching it, but getting through 7 seasons in a week is with work and everything is pretty much impossible. I would have had to take a whole week off. I don't think they would have accepted. I want to watch Buffy as my excuse to take a week off. But I've got a great panel here. I've got Chad here. Chad, how's it going?
Oh man, it's going great for me. I'm very excited that you're watching it, Malcolm. I can't wait to hear your thoughts once you're done. But yeah, seeing that thumbnail, having just like a lot of people I love here and just like talking about one of my favorite things on the planet, Buffy, it just makes me so happy and so excited. I'm so interested to see what everyone's going to bring up, and I'm sure we're going to make a killer list here.
Also, we've got Stacy. Stacy, how's it going?
It's going really, really good, and I'm so excited to be here. It's been a long time since I've been on the show, since there's been a category that I've been like, oh my god, I have to do this one, but this was definitely an oh my god, I have to do this one. So I'm really excited to talk about Buffy.
Also, we've got Dylan. Dylan, how's it going?
It's going great. I love when something is so fresh on the brain when I'm going into one of these, and I just binged the show a bunch over the past year and a half. So I'm really excited to talk about some episodes because I haven't really gone in depth very much on episodes. I kind of did a general review for my channel, so it's pretty fun. I know Stacey and I have talked a lot this week about Buffy, but it's going to be cool to like vocalize everything out here with everyone here and with the internet. And I can't wait for you to watch it, Malcolm. It's going to be great.
Also, we've got Kerry Webb. Kerry, how's it going?
Going great. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for having me. This is like, my favorite show of all time. So I'm super excited to talk Buffy with all you guys.
Yeah. And last but not least is the reason I actually started watching Buffy for the first time this year. Anyway, because we did a TV battle tournament fights a while back as JPO. JPO, how's it going?
What's up, buddy? No, happy to be here for sure. Yeah, this is a mad love for Buffy here. Props to my sister for getting me into it. And quick clarifying question for you, Malcolm. I wrote Buffy fanfic. Can I vote for that?
No.
All right, just want to make sure. I won't try that. True story.
Yeah. But Brian does bring up a point. It was a long time since this person panel for Random. There's a reason for that. Is because there's not going to be any tiebreakers because as I said, I'm not doing this. I'll probably give my personal ranking of the episodes I've seen so far. I've just reached the end of season 2. But for that, how ranking works with it, each going to go around and nominate a TV episode that think belongs on a top 12 list, and then everyone else says yes or no to it. And one thing I've realized, like I haven't done a lot of like ranking TV episodes. Like this is probably the 4th episode, ranking episodes. Funny enough, the first one is a different Alison Hannigan TV show. That's How I Met Your Mother. But he's off screen at the moment. I was going to go to Chad first. But Stacey, I'll go to you first. What is the first episode you're going to bring up?
Oh, well, do you want to go to Chad since he came back just in time? Okay.
Yeah.
I won't mess up the order.
My bad. I didn't know how long the intro was going to last.
Chad.
And I was going to go try to find it. And so I'm going to nominate one of my favorite episodes. I think one of the best episodes, one of the most fun episodes. Once More with Feeling, the musical episode of Buffy. I went to try and find it because I have it on vinyl. And I've heard it like so many times just outside of the episode because all of the songs in here are just excellent and they're all like true to their characters. A lot of people are going through different things in this season, and I think a lot of it like comes up in this episode where people get to express themselves through song. Even Spike sings, which he doesn't love the fact that he's about to sing, but then he does, and it's really funny and really great. And pretty much everybody has a great voice. Even Allison Hannigan, I think, isn't bad, even though she didn't want to sing that much. That's why she barely does. She has like 3 lines or something like that. But Tara has an excellent song. And I love like her duet with Giles. I love that Giles is, well, I don't love the fact that Giles is thinking about leaving, but I love how he expresses it here through song. Spike is still battling with his I love Buffy, I hate Buffy kind of deals. There's going to be a lot of spoilers from Malcolm, I just realized.
It's fine.
And then also, Dawn is doing her thing with her kleptomania, and she is going to be the queen of the guy. I love Dylan. Help me out. What is the name of the Broadway actor who passed away?
Hinton Battle.
Yeah, he plays Sweet in the show, and he's so good. I love his like singing. I love his tap dancing, and his minions are really funny. I love how it's not just the main people singing. I mean, you do have a Xander and Anya song as well. You do have the beginning with Buffy talking about her going through the motions. She's just trying to figure life out as she has come back from the dead and just what it means to be alive again. And the fact that she really isn't alive, even though she is. And I love how it's not just them singing, but it's also, you get to see kind of the entire town singing a little bit, where it's like, is it just us? And then it's like people singing about getting mustard out of their shirts. A woman is singing about trying to get out of a parking ticket. People are just dancing in the background as people walk. It is, I think, the greatest musical episode of television ever. You can listen to the music just away from the episode, and it rules. I've ranked up songs with people and stuff just individually, just because it's so fun and so funny. I love that Xander ended up being the one that did it, and I love that there is a great explanation for why everyone's singing rather than it just happens because reasons. There's actually a really good reason, and it goes into the show. And this is the episode where we get the reveal, not to us from Buffy, but to everyone else except for Spike, that Buffy thinks she was in heaven, and that whole thing. And I think that is one of the most like sad moments of the show, but like really affecting, because when she's saying it and you see like the effect it has on Willow and everyone else, I think it really, really hits home. And a lot of things come out in that episode, and just it rules. And I just want to go sing it right now.
Stacey, what do you say about Once More Feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely in my top 5 episodes, period. So there's no way it shouldn't be on this list. Like Chad said, so much is revealed, but it's also how it's revealed. Like they're singing about really kind of the things they are finding it so hard to talk about, but mostly in kind of lighthearted, fun ways. So the juxtaposition between the songs and what they're actually singing about is fantastic. And I love that they don't actually win. The demon's just like, I'm not going to marry Xander, so bye. That's how they win.
I don't have to be your queen, do I?
Right?
Pass on this one.
Yeah, which is great. That's so fun, even though it's like, a lighthearted moment in a very, it's weird. It's a lighthearted episode, and yet it's not. But I mean, really, Chad said everything about it. It's a definite on my list.
Dylan, what do you say about Once More Feeling?
Yeah, I like this one a lot. It's now gotten into like my top 10 episodes of Buffy. It wasn't there the first time I watched it, only because I think just coming from a very musical background, I have a very critical eye when it comes to just like the overall songs and compositions of the actual dance numbers and framing and all that weird nerdy shit. But yeah, I think the reason I like it more on rewatch is that I think it's a much better function in this particular series as a storytelling device than it is as its own musical. Like I don't personally love the songs, and I don't think all the musicals or numbers are staged that great, but I think it's the actual emotions of what the songs bring out of the characters and the device the singing has in this whole concept of these secrets coming to light. This is a very as Chad said, I like eye-opening uh episode for a bunch of characters, and a lot of revelations happen, and there's this idea on stage of why do characters sing in musicals to begin with, and it's because they have either reached their peak emotions that they can't justify it with words, they must go higher, they must go further, and that is why people sing, or it's because they want to express themselves from just speaking the truth. It's easier through song. It's almost more like a medicine. It helps get the feelings out easier. It helps convey that emotion easier, and I think that's what the songs and the overall musical nature of it does. I think it's a genius way to kind of let out all these secrets, kind of as I think either Stacey or Chad said, like they're very heavy things too. So it kind of lets it out in an easier way instead of just having like all this drama kind of come to the surface all at once, which we have seen in the show. And that is sometimes for a lot of people, the least favorite moments is when the Scoobies are all fighting or there's secrets and there's betrayals and stuff. I personally am really invested in that. I think that makes for the most interesting character drama, but I know some people want them all to just be happy and friendly all the time. But this is a really cool way to kind of find that marriage where things are still lighthearted enough because of the musical nature, but we're still getting to deeper dramatic elements between the characters. So I think it's a really great device in the show for sure. And I think of all the musical episodes that I've seen, at least, like this one does it better and uses it in the most fun, playful way, kind of like what Chad was talking about, with the whole town kind of all being kind of under this spell, which I think is really fun, rather than like the other example I can think of is Grey's Anatomy, where it's only from one character's POV. She is in a coma and she's envisioning this musical in her head, and that kind of it's a cool device, but it's almost like we need to figure out a way to get a musical episode into the show. This feels like just a very organic way because you have that element of magic that you can just say, oh, there's a spell, or there's this, or there's that. It's a very easy. That's the great thing about the show is it's very easy to come up with excuses to get all these interesting gimmicks across, and they're gimmicks, but in a good way. It is a fun gimmick, and I really like it. So it's one that definitely grows on me. So I'm going to say yes for those reasons. Sorry, I talk so much.
Oh, perfectly.
Kiri, what do you say about Once More Feeling?
Yeah, this is also in my top 5, so it's a definite yes for me. I love all these songs so much. I know them by heart. Although, yeah, I mean, you got to think it's not really. I think they were mostly written by Joss Whedon, and I'm sure he had some help, but they're not written or choreographed. I think by the most like people who had like the most experience in those areas. But I think it turns into just an amazing musical episode. And like you guys said, it's really fun, but there's also 4 or 5 major plot lines that are happening in this episode, which is wild for a musical episode. I feel like mostly those are usually just like, okay, let's have a musical episode about these fun little things, and it's not really driving the plot very much. Yeah, I love this episode. I'm glad you brought it up, Chad.
And just real quick, I actually kind of love that it isn't that polished of a musical episode. Where if you notice, and I don't know if Dylan has actually noticed this yet, but Amber Benson makes a mistake in the episode. She like runs into a pole, and then she's like in the background laughing, and they just kept it in. And just like, I love that.
Yeah, and when I say I don't love the songs, it's more like I don't necessarily think they're the best written songs, but they do work so well in this context. And I think the camp adds to it. I mean, it's the same reason Rocky Horror works for so many people. It's the mood and the tone and the device more so than like how well is it written, and that's why it's good. So I agree with you, Kerry. It's great.
And JPO, what do you say about Once More Feeling?
Well, life's a show, and we all play our parts. And in this part, I say yes. Now, this is definitely a big yes for me here. I remember when it first aired organically, I remember I was a little trepidatious because, I'm not necessarily, I'm the opposite. I'm not that big of a musical guy, but I fell in love with it from the first airing here. I think it's a great one-off. You can just put this on kind of randomly, have fun with it. It also very much fits in the story of the great Buffy reveal at the end here. The start of kind of Giles showing that, maybe it's time to step aside. I think it's a fantastic episode that works in every way. And hell yeah.
Once More Feeling is going to make the list, and we're going to go to Stacy.
Oh, okay, my turn. So I'm going to go with an episode that usually takes my number one spot. Sometimes it sometimes vacillates to number two, but what I think is one of the best episodes of television ever, not just Buffy, and that is Hush.
Yep.
I think it is amazing what they do with a mostly silent episode. It is so good. And you get so many character moments and again, revelations that happen with no words. And the humor in it is fantastic, even though it's extremely creepy. And the gentlemen are some of the creepiest one-off monsters of the week that we see. There's also some really funny moments. One of my favorite moments in the entire show is Giles' slideshow. And when he's talking about how Buffy will slay at night and she's doing the stake motions and like all of that stuff. Yet like this, I just love that entire sequence. And I just think it's a phenomenal episode of television in general.
Dylan, what do you say about Hush?
Yeah, I wanted to say a lot about Hush when we were talking about Once More with Feeling because it's a great companion piece, but I didn't because I didn't want to tip picks. But I love Hush even more. This is my favorite episode of the show, so I'm glad, Stacey, you brought it up. But this is a reason why I like Once More with Feeling so much more now is because watching them together, it works as such a great companion piece because Hush is like the idea of, what happens when you have to say things but don't, or when you want to say things but can't. And then Once More Feeling is when you don't want to share your secrets, but you have to through song. Like it's a really cool kind of play with, the way we communicate as people and kind of our restrictions in doing so. But yeah, it's just, first off, it's very, very scary. Like I find it very scary. The actual creation of the gentleman is freaky for me. I don't know if it holds up for everyone else, but it is free for me. It is genuinely creepy to where every time they put it in the theme song for the future seasons, I'm like, why? Stop it. Because I am like Matt Chapman, my friend, not a skipper. I never skip a theme song. So it's like, I have to suffer through watching their faces every episode after this. But no, it's very scary. It works so effectively. It's a gimmick, again, that works in what the characters are going through in their journeys. It's like the perfect point for an episode like this to happen because it is kind of one of those episodes where you want to get a lot out, but you can't because you're silent. And I love that. And this is the introduction of Tara, which I think is important because it also, plays into the idea of Willow and Tara having this kind of unspoken connection, quite literally unspoken. And I think that's so important is that they make their first few moments together void of words to make us, the audience, realize that this connection goes beyond just words, which I think is beautiful, which I'm sure we'll talk about more when we talk about other Willow and Tara moments throughout the series. But yeah, it's a really great episode. Just so solid through and through. And the ending is just one of the best endings ever where, now they have their voices back and they still can't talk to one another. I think it's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. So yes, a big glaring yes for me.
Huey, what do you say about Hush?
Yeah, definite yes for me. This is probably in my top 3 of episodes. I think I don't think it's been brought up yet. I think this is the only episode of Buffy that was actually nominated for an Emmy.
I think so, yeah.
And yeah, like you guys said, it's absolutely incredible. I think it's the scariest episode of the show. And for me, I'm a big horror fan, so I really, really love that. And I don't know, it's hard to say more about without just repeating what everyone has said. But the Willow and Tara moments are amazing. Like that slideshow scene is just hilarious. It is one of the funniest parts of the entire show. But yeah, great pick, Stacey.
JPO, what do you say about Hush?
Another easy round 1 yes here. I mean, as everyone has already said, it runs the gamut of truly being laugh out loud funny, truly having its scary moments here. For one-off villains, they stick in your mind. Everyone here can close their eyes and we can exactly picture, the gentleman. This is another and kudos to the cast and the writing and everything. Everything's so good here. So yes.
And Chad, what do you say about Hush?
Absolutely one of the best episodes, of course. It makes sense that it's a lot of people's number one, or at least in their top five, because it just rules. Season 4 is not known to be like a beloved season by a lot of people, even though I still really, really like it. But this is definitely a shining moment in the show. And even if you don't like Riley, a lot of the Riley parts are like really good in it. Like Dylan mentioned, I think pretty much everything that really needs to be said about it, and Carrie and Stacy as well. Talking about Tara and Riley, and one Emmy and stuff. I don't know. Did anybody mention that it was Doug Jones that plays the main gentleman guy? Yeah. There you go, Dylan. Yeah, he does, and it's really cool. Of course, if you want Doug Jones to be in your something that you do, ask him. He might be in it. Apparently,
It makes so much sense now that you say it. I'm like watching the scene back now. I'm like, yeah, that's him.
yeah.
It's
The gentlemen are scary. They're little minions that
Yeah,
move
the
really
minions
weird.
And they're
Scary.
like straight jacket thingies. I don't know, that freaked me out.
The idea of it being like a little fairy tale, and the way they set it up with like the little girl and the box, and the fake out too of some of the jump scares in this. Carrie said it's her like one of the scariest episodes, and definitely in the top 2 of scariest episodes. And with them, there's one part like where they go into a room, or like Willow's coming out of a room, and then like you think maybe, if I might be mixing the Willow's coming out of a room, but instead it's the gentlemen that come out of the room, and that's really scary. There's another one where like Olivia is like looking out of the window, and you see something in the background, and then all of a sudden the foreground comes a gentleman. You're like, oh my god, okay. So Buffy is a horror show, but it really does lean into the comedy a lot more than it does actual like scares and jump scares and stuff like that. So when it does, it's actually really cool and effective. So Hush is so good, and I love it to death. I agree.
But that Hush is going to make the list. Dylan, we go to you for your next nomination.
Shoot, I was fact checking something. Yeah, okay. I have a pick. This is not like my favorite episode of the show, but it's the first one that I watched and I said, yep, I get it. I get the hype. I get why people love it. I get why this is a masterpiece. So I'm going to go with the season 2 finale. And Malcolm, you could talk about this one because you've seen it, which is Becoming. I know I'm getting both parts, I think. But really, I mean, it's for that second half. But like the whole episode's great. But the reason I'm picking this, or nominating it, hopefully everyone else agree. But I think the thing is, up till this whole series, and this is why this is the moment that clicked with me, a lot of the first 2 seasons, the first season mostly, is it's Monster of the Week. You're getting a different story. It almost feels like they're isolated from one another. There's not really an overarching storyline. There is, but there's not. It's not really until season 2 where they really dig into these like kind of broader, bigger storylines, especially with Angel and this romance. And I think it really is one of those really great payoffs for a longer form story when we're so used to this Monster of the Week thing, to get this like conclusion that feels like it wrapped up what could have been a whole series. And I think that's one of the strengths of this show in particular, is that every finale for the most part feels like it could be the end of the series or the end of at least this chapter. It doesn't feel like it feels like it can open the door for more, but it doesn't necessarily leave the door open. Like I think of Walking Dead, and where most people fell off of Walking Dead was that Negan cliffhanger, where it's like, just show us, like why are you keeping us in waiting for months and months and months? I think the power of Buffy is that it really does feel like every season has a definitive conclusion for the most part, save for maybe like 4, because it kind of, the initiative ends before the finale anyway. But it feels like each finale really sticks the landing, which I really love. And this is the first kind of instance where I was like really spellbound by it, really emotional. Obviously the Buffy and Angel stuff being kind of the centerpiece of it, but also just the way other people interact to it. Xander's hatred of Angel and Giles, and the information he has, and him still kind of recovering from his love being lost with Jenny, and all that, which I think is really important. But also just the ultimate decision she has to make to kill Angel. Spoiler alert. But and then seeing how that kind of has a fallout in season 3, I think is also why this episode's so great, because it kind of really does set the stage for what I think is probably my favorite stretch of Buffy, even though it is hard to watch, which is the beginning of 3, because it's so interesting character-wise what they're dealing with in the fallout of season 2. So I think it's just a very important episode, and it's the one that really got me hooked to where I really wanted to continue watching it, because up to this point I was like, it's good, it's okay, and then this episode happened and I was like, yeah, no, I'm in, I'm hooked, I'm on for the ride. So I think this is important for me for those reasons. So it's a little bit of a personal pick, but I know it's also in a lot of people's like top 10s, top 5s, so I like it a lot.
Kiri, what do you say about the season 2 finale becoming?
I love that you picked this, Dylan. This is one of my favorite episodes as well. Especially, yeah, that's if we had to choose parts, I would have chose the second part, because I think that second part of the 2-part episode is just absolutely phenomenal. The last 10 minutes, especially, I think it's some of the best of the entire show. I think it's some of the best of TV in general. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar's acting in those last 5-10 minutes is like the strength you feel from her, getting to the point where she gets to kill Angel, and then the emotion from that point forward, and the rest, it is just, I think it's fantastic acting. I think it's just very well written. Like, the music plays in so well. The fight scene, I think, is pretty well choreographed. I mean, overall, it's mostly like that last 10 minutes for me that I like. The entire conclusion of that season, I think that is I go back and forth, but I think that is maybe the best season of Buffy. And I think the conclusion of it just completely and totally nails the entire season. And it's not a happy ending. And I think it was really, it was good that, I think it was great that the show took that risk to not have, a happy ending necessarily to that season. But yeah, yes for me.
JPO, what do you say about becoming?
Yeah, no, as kind of touched upon already, I think this is kind of an interesting turning point for the show too. I think the stakes are really starting to get higher here. I think the drama is starting to get higher here. It's kind of showing you this is no longer, I love season 1, I love every season, but this is no longer just fun high school shenanigans. There's true stakes here. There's true, you don't necessarily think she's gonna have to murder Angel. Obviously, we get him back later, but it's still, I think the drama, the acting, everything here. SMG, my girl SMG, killing it. So yeah, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to do a yes or no on this, but I really love the episode as well. I think it's great. Like, weirdly enough, I've still got that final 10 minutes to go of this.
Oh no! Sorry to spoil it.
Well, I mean, it's one of those ones like I figured it was going to. It's one of those ones like I figured how it was going to end anyway, just because of being familiar with the show and all that. Like, Buffy's been one of those shows I've been familiar with, just never got around to actually watching. Which is weird because I love Charmed, and you would think that I would have got onto Buffy earlier, but that being said, Chad, what do you say about becoming?
It's never too late. If you haven't seen Buffy, check it out. You'll fall in love. I'm pretty sure. All of us have, obviously. Yeah, no, I think Dylan actually hit on it. I'm so glad also that he chose this episode, because it rules. I wanted to touch real quick on the idea that he brought up, talking about how season 2 is where this show found its footing. Season 1 is great. There's some great episodes in there, but it does fall into we're establishing that this is a Monster of the Week type show. It's kind of like an X-Files, but what X-Files doesn't do is, I think the Monster of the Week episodes are the best parts of that show, and it never really finds its overarching story. There's some good stuff in it, but it never really becomes like the greatest thing you've ever seen. Whereas with Buffy, I think it intersperses all of that together so well, where you'll have the Monster of the Week episodes, and then you'll have certain character stuff going on that will pay off later. And, there's so much foreshadowing going on. And I think the point when, you find out that Angel has had this whole past, and he's, one moment of happiness, he's jealous now. It takes it to a whole new level and just makes it one of the greatest things that you'll ever see, because that whole arc is like crazy, and the journey that Buffy has to go on to actually figure out how to emotionally get herself in a place where she can actually kill this guy that is her first love of all time. And then right when she's about to do it, he turns back to Angel, and then you're like, oh my God. And when that happens, look, I was like, 11 or 12-year-old boy in my room. I hadn't even met Carrie yet. And this episode was probably the first thing that I like bawled my eyes out to at the end. So it really did hit me hard. And I don't know if it's ever hit me as hard as it did that very first time, but it still hits me every time, just because of, like you guys said, how it's acted and everything. I love the device of a Cathla. I think is really cool, and like this ancient thing, and it just feels really final and really like this. She has to do this to save the world, but do you save the world, or do you get to save the person you love? And she has to sacrifice. She has to do the thing that the Slayer has to do, and actually kill. Yeah, and it's just it's really emotional. It's really amazing, and I would say the only potential negative for these two is that I know that there's a whole thing now that is totally fair, where they kill Kendra in the first part, and she was like one of the big black voices on the show, and with that, so I wanted to throw that out there, because it's not a perfect, like, the show's not perfect, but despite that, I still think it's very, very strong, and so easily one of my favorites as well. So
and Stacey, what do you say about Becoming?
I'm kind of chomping at the bit to talk about this one. I've been trying to not interrupt people. This is the episode that has my heart. I can't stress to you how much I watched this week to week from episode 1. I thought it was the movie the first time I put it on, because it was a back-to-back 2-parter, 2 hours long. It was the first 2 episodes, and I was hooked right away. And by the time we got to this point, I was so heavily invested in the Angel Buffy relationship and how it was all going to play out. Like, I can't even express how invested I was in this. And then there was not like internet, really. We didn't know he was going to come back. We didn't know he was going to have his own show. None of that was known when this episode aired. I cried for a good half an hour afterwards. Like, I was devastated. Like, I could probably cry now if I think about it too much. It was just amazingly effective television. Like everybody said, the performances were amazing, and it always affects me every time. I mean, nothing will be like that first time, obviously, because I know I didn't know how it was going to resolve, but I didn't think it was going to resolve like that, especially with him being having his soul restored right before she has to kill him. And the kiss, it's amazing.
Just how confused he is at that
right point. It's so heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking. You can't really tell, but there's a Buffy Angel blanket that I'm sitting on right now. Like, it's heavily invested. Okay. So yeah, this is an absolute yes. If I didn't say that part,
Malcolm, I think we all need a minute here. Just give us a minute, please, Mom.
Right? Exactly. I always need a minute after, or a half an hour, depending on.
But anyway, gotta go to Kerry next. Kerry, what is
okay? I'm trying to decide which episode I want to bring up.
It's tough.
It is tough because there's so many good ones. But I'm gonna go with another sad one, another season finale, another sad season finale.
Right.
Be on a sad train today. And that's The Gift, which is the end of season 5. I love how this episode starts out. It starts out with like Buffy just like going out in the alleyway behind the magic box and killing a vampire. The vampire doesn't know who she is, what a slayer is. And then there's like a little clip fast forward of everything that's happened the past 5 years. It starts off like that. And then I think the ending of this episode is just, it's really tragic. But it's so beautiful, and it winds up being, and I love that they did this with season 5. It winds up being a family story, a story about sisters. And I love that so much. And I love how the things that Buffy has learned over the past 5 years, especially like, you know, the stuff with the first Slayer, it all kind of comes together for her. And she realizes what she has to do. And it's like absolutely devastating. And yeah, this is another one, like same thing. Like I cried for so long after I first watched it. And like every time I watch it, I cry. But I think it's just so good. And I'm a sucker for a sister story. And I think this is just like, this is a show also I used to watch with my little sister. So it really hits for me. But yeah.
JPO, what do you say about The Gift?
Yeah, I think another example here. What was 2 in a row now? Just great finales here. Maybe other finales could be brought up potentially here. Yeah, lots going on here for this finale here, but it handles it very well here. Everyone kind of gets their moments. Giles, everyone really gets the time to kind of shine here. You know, rumors that this could have been even the series finale at one point. Yeah, no, this is another great episode, so I'll say yes.
Chad, what do you say about The Gift?
Yeah, Carrie, I think this is the one where after she kills the vampires, the kid she saves is like, "You're just a girl," and then she's like, "That's what I keep saying," or something like that. I love that part. It is such a perfect like episode from beginning to end. I love all the action. I love the fact that, you know, it shows that just how true of a hero Buffy is, that she can't even bring herself to destroy an innocent to save or destroy an innocent to stop a big evil, you know, because she's just that, like, you know, true of a person or whatever, and true of a hero. And so Giles has to do her dirty work. And I think that, you know, kind of might play in later, you know, when he decides, you know, I can't like fight all of her battles, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, like Carrie said, like this is just a great, you know, episode with, you know, the sister stuff, you know, where, you know, she has to sacrifice herself. She kind of learns like the whole idea of like what what truly means to like what this gift actually means. And she can actually, you know, save her sister's life, because like you begin the season with not even understanding what's going on with Dawn. And then when you find out, you know, there's all the drama about, you know, is this my sister? Is this just something someone put there in my life and stuff? And then when you finally get to the end, Buffy's like, you know, I'm, you know, this is real. You're my sister. And I think that is really beautiful. I think it is a really great moment. Had they wanted to actually end the show, I wouldn't have been satisfied, because I love Buffy so much as a character. But I do think it would have been a very good ending nonetheless. A very final, you know, and it's, what does it say? You know, the tombstone says she saved the world a lot.
A lot.
And,
Sorry, Chad. I had to.
No, we can also.
It's a bomb quote.
And it's yeah, it is. And I love it so much. Oh, I forgot to mention with the Hush. I actually have the shirt that Buffy will patrol tonight with the little figure. So I have one of those shirts. I want to get the Tombstone shirt now, actually. But yeah, this is a perfect episode. There's a reason why Buffy nails the season finales and the series finale and everything. So, God, it's such a great show. I love it. And episode 2.
Stacey, what do you say about The Gift?
So, yeah, everybody's pretty much touched on it. It was the series finale. The WB had canceled Buffy. It was done. Then after this, UPN picked Buffy up and we got 2 more seasons. So it was originally the series finale. And I think it worked as a series finale. It was a bittersweet finale, obviously. But I mean, it did wrap things up. But it is, There's something I was going to say when Chad was talking, and now I forgot what it was.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It was just something that you said made me think of a point, and then I've forgotten the point now, but that's fine. I mean, it's a yes. The gift is great. It's on my list of 32. What was I going to say?
Gravestone.
You're thinking about cutting to the shot of Spike just bawling.
No, no, I can't remember. But anyway, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm sure I'll have plenty to say about other things. So, but yeah, the gift, definite yes.
And Dylan, what do you say about the gift?
Yeah, I think it's a great episode. I like how it does wrap up the themes of the sister bond really, really well. I love how almost her talking to her sister up there and you don't really hear the conversation mirrors another conversation we see from another episode that hasn't been mentioned yet, but how the first time that happens, it's a very sad conversation. And this one, it's more of a hopeful one. It's very sad still because she's still about to die, but it's like, you know, it's a cool mirror device where one is steeped in sadness and tragedy and the other is more steeped in like hopefulness and a bit of optimism in a way. So I like that parallel there. The only things I don't love about the episode is that not watching in real time, I know there's 2 more seasons, so that death has never really sunk as much as it did for people watching at the time. And I think the difference between that and Becoming is that I knew Angel had a show, but I didn't know when the show was set, and Angel has lived hundreds of years. I thought it could have been like a prequel series. So at the time Angel died, I thought he was dead. Whereas in this one, I never really thought Buffy was dead because we have 2 more seasons to go and they can't just have a Buffy bot, right? Maybe, I don't know. They could have tried that, but I think that's why this episode was never truly as big or high on my list as others, is just because it doesn't have that sense of finality, because I know there's 2 more to come. I think if I had watched this in real time, it would have hit all those notes. And if it was a series finale, I almost wish they had given her a happy ending. I get it. It is the right ending, but the right ending isn't always the happy one, but it is the right ending. So I can't argue it, though. It does suck that only mere episodes after the audience had to watch another major character death and kind of grieve that. Feels like this happens just right away after that, at least in a binge it does. So that's kind of been my only issue, is like maybe if they had that moment that I'm talking about happen earlier and this moment happen later, give it a little bit more time. But again, I didn't watch this in real time. Maybe it felt better in the actual time than it did binged. But binged, it does feel like it just happens right away. And you're like, wait, now she's dead? And she's gonna be in the next 2 seasons. It's almost it's the trailer syndrome of, oh, I thought I saw it in the trailer, so that must mean Rocket survives in Guardians 3. It's that whole thing. So, and that actually happened to me when I saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes too. I was like, I haven't seen this scene yet, so that means, yeah, I'm just a loser like that. So I think that's why I would have said no, but it's still a great episode. And I think the problem is there's so many great episodes, so a no is only a yes on a list of 30 yeses, you know. So this would have been a yes if we could limit it. It wasn't limited to 12 for me, but it made it anyway. So what does it matter? It's a great episode.
Yeah, that moment that Dylan's talking about will be similar to if someone discovered the original Charm for the first time, with the end of season 7, knowing that there's one more season. But JPO, we go to you next. What is the first episode you're going to bring?
All right. If you think we've been sad so far, we're about to get really sad.
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
The body.
All right.
Good.
I was kind of in a way hoping someone else would do it, so I didn't have to talk about it as much, because it's a really heart-wrenching episode here. Obviously, any kind of supernatural stuff is on the back burner here. Again, kind of like Hush, there's several just great quiet moments as well. And every part of the Scooby Gang kind of tackles in their different way here. You know, besides, of course, there's great, of course, fantastic Buffy stuff. Buffy and Dawn stuff. Even Willow struggling, you know, she's struggling with her outfits. Anya even has a fantastic monologue as well here. It's just, it's so well done. It's shocking too. You know, if you watch it kind of in order, it really does kind of come out of nowhere, which is sadly what happens in life. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, a lot of times with death. And yeah, it nails it. I think it's one of the best Rain episodes. And someone else talk about it, please.
Chad, what do you say about the body?
Yeah, not just one of the best like written, but just like filmed, like the cinematography. I just think the lighting, just the I don't know. There's like one part where like they have like they film vomit very weird, kind of a deal in the episode. But yeah, like, I don't know if I've ever seen like an episode of television capture death in the same way, and just like not just death but grief and just shock and just unbelief and just disbelief and like what do I do in the situation? Like the episode before ended with her finding the body, and then it cuts to here, and there's actually a jump scare in this that has no music, and it's the one where it cuts to a scene of like Buffy saving her mom, and then everything's fine, and it cuts to them like eating dinner together, and then jump cut straight to her dead face on the couch. And I'm just like, I always know that part's coming, and I'm like trying to like look away a little bit because it scares the shit out of me. There's no music or anything, but it's still a great jump scare. JPO hit on a lot of really, really great stuff about the monologues, Willow not wanting to wear purple because she don't want to seem all royal. And then, Anya wondering about she'll never be able to eat certain foods and brush her hair and stuff again. And it's just like, and then like, Buffy, when she first finds out, she's just like really trying to figure out what the hell to do. And in that moment, and, when she has like a conversation on the phone, she barely even can comprehend what the hell is even going on and talk to someone like a normal person. And when she talks to Giles, he doesn't understand what the hell she's saying because she's just so in shock. And, in a show that has, all the big stuff that happens and deaths and whatnot, it's all mostly like supernatural stuff. And then this is the only like one where someone dies of like a brain aneurysm, and it's so sudden, so shocking. And I think Joss did just a fantastic job, showing that with the cinematography, the like lack of music, and just everything that went into it. And everyone just trying to figure out what happened, and you're almost at a loss for words, kind of like in Hush, where you don't know what to say a lot of the times. And it is a really it's one that just like kind of stops you in your tracks, stops the season in its tracks, but like takes a second just to like have this brilliant episode. And honestly, I'm surprised that this didn't get an Emmy nomination, because it's just like, so like you just wonder like how, if this were a film or whatever, this would probably be one of the best like films, because they're so well done, and sad but beautiful in the same way.
I mean, I'm more surprised like Buffy never got a Emmy nomination for like best drama in general.
I know, right?
But Stacey, what do you say about The Body?
Yeah, this would have been my next pick. It makes me angry that this episode wasn't nominated. I think this is probably objectively the best episode of Buffy. It is an amazingly effective episode of television. I dread it when I'm doing a rewatch in season 5. I kind of just keep checking, like, where does it fall? How close am I? Like, I have to prepare myself episodes in advance, because it is such a realistic, effective look at death and grief. The lack of sound, again, the use of music or lack of music or in sound in this show is so incredible. Where they don't have any background music, any background sound, and it's just quiet, is so effective and haunting in this episode, when people are just doing things normally in shows and movies, there's noise, like there's underlying music or something, and there's just not, which brings another level of realism to this episode that drives it home. Like people said, the stuff with Willow, like her not knowing what to wear seems kind of silly, but it's so real. It's like you just focus on those little things because you don't know what to focus on. And all the reactions are just heartbreaking. Like, I just prepare myself to cry through most of it. Like, it's just, but that's what makes it so great, even though it's hard to watch. It's a definite yes.
Dylan, what do you say about The Body?
Yeah, I mean, it's devastating. The first time I watched it was tough, and that was knowing that Joyce died, because it's one of those things where if you just open Twitter or open YouTube, eventually you're going to just find out just by pop culture happenstance. Obviously not at the time when it was airing, or, but like, especially in today's day and age, being someone who every year I've lived this earth, Buffy has been a thing. So it's like, I would go on.
I'm so old.
sorry, Stacey, to age you. Watch Mojo. Like, you'd go and like watch Mojo, and it would just
God
be
damn you, young Chad.
part of
Dylan.
it would just be like part of a compilation, and it's one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, Buffy's mom dies. Like, I know that's a thing in pop culture, but then when you actually see it in the context, also because the whole season, I'm watching it for the first time, wondering, I'm like, oh, when's she gonna die? Because she's sick, she's got cancer, and then they're like, oh, she's good, she's in remission, and that's kind of that false sense of security, but it's in a less jarring way than like something like with Tara later would happen. But like, it's one of those things where you, the audience, feel okay because you're like, okay, she's okay. But because I knew it was coming, I was like, there's got to be something either the doctors missed, or I mean, that's just life. Sometimes the doctors don't miss anything and just things happen. And that's the hardest part. And like Chad said, in a world that's so baked in mythology, it's like, this is the one thing magic can't fix. And that sucks. It's the one thing that's most real. And that's the stuff that Buffy, what am I saying? That Buffy doesn't know how to, approach. This is not in her training, and I think that's what's so awesome or not awesome, but so perplexing is just seeing her kind of almost age 5 years down in this moment and become the little girl again, calling her mommy. God, when the 911 on the phone is like the body, and she says, no, my mom. Like, that's like one of those moments where it's like, oh, it's devastating. And that's why the title of the episode itself is so brilliant. We haven't talked about titles of any of these episodes yet, but I mean, the title of the episode informs so much about what the episode is about. The acceptance of, this is not your mother, this is a body. And that's the worst, most terrifying part of it. I watched this the first way through, and then my aunt passed of not a similar circumstance, but in a very similar fashion, very sudden, the recalling of the paramedics, all that stuff. It's like just really haunted me personally. So to rewatch this over and over, it never gets easier. And honestly, it gets harder. And it almost makes me want to say no because I hate it, but it's the best episode of the show. Like, objectively, like Stacey said, like, it is, I think, the best episode of the show. So I have to say yes in terms of crafting best episodes. Is it one of my favorites because I hate it? I mean, it still is, because I still think right. I think it's one of those things that I still like talking about because it's such an interesting episode, but I hate it. Like, I hate watching it. It's awful to watch. Anya's moment's my favorite because she's my favorite character, but her moment is so great because she's coming from it from a perspective of someone who is doesn't have the capability to die for so much of her life. Now she's mortal, but for so long she's lived hundreds and hundreds of years without that fear of just natural death. Like, it just doesn't comprehend for her. It's just so amazing. It's just really an incredible episode. The only thing I don't like about it, aside from the triggeringness of it, is just the fact that it is so non-supernatural, and I love it so much that when it does finally take that pivot into the supernatural at the very end, when that like body comes off the table, I'm like, that's the part I didn't necessarily need, because I think it's so effective as is that I get it. They have to remind us it's still Buffy, so we're gonna have creatures and zombies and all that stuff, but I think it would have been even more effective if it just been that moment. But I get it, and I guess if I rewatch it, I might find a different perspective on that scene. But really great. I mean, just such a good episode. So it's a yes for me.
Two things I wanted to add real quick is just one. Dylan reminded me that with Joyce's like moment, like she is getting better. In fact, she's going like on a date and everything. And Buffy's like, how did your date go? And so
she got flowers.
Yeah, and so it's like
Buffy comes in, there's flowers with a card, and she says something about the flowers right before she finds her.
It's like really, really extra heartbreaking that it's like so sudden, because it's a happy to not. But I will say, Dylan also reminded me, since this one is so real, it kind of prepares you for later seasons.
Yes.
Kiri, what do you say about the body?
Yeah, definite yes for me. This is the one when I was trying to choose which episode to bring up. I was between this one and the one I did bring up. I understand though why, like when JPO was like, oh, I'm not sure. I didn't want to be the one to bring it up. It's so tough to talk about. It's a tough episode to watch. But I do think it is like one of the few pieces of media that captures death really well. And like we've been talking about, the lack of music, there's no like real opportunity for emotional release like through the music. It's kind of a lot of it's like kind of, I don't like the banality of going through the motions after someone has died. There's a lot of boring things that go on, and there's a lot of like dumb decisions that are like, what should I wear to go see Buffy, and like what do I do? So yeah, I think it is a really, really brilliant episode. And like everyone said, it's extremely tough to watch. And I think a lot of that is because it is so real and so accurate to the grieving process. Yeah.
And now we'll cry for 5 minutes and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Take a sec, intermission.
I'll just quickly add, like, watching Becoming, there's a few moments in the Becoming season finale that I thought Joyce was going to die then, because it's one of these tropes in these shows where someone's got a secret and like they finally reveal the secret to someone else, like that person ends up dying in that same episode, like so. Yeah. And I actually quite like Joyce as a character, but
yeah.
Oh yeah, great character.
Yeah, it's like if you share a secret, if you say I love you, if you finally get back together after breaking up, you know.
But
I hate it.
Chad, was next episode you get bigger?
Well, also I was going to add, like, you know, just in the show, you don't really never know like when the body's coming until it comes and it hits you at the end of one episode, and that's exactly what Jordan did in this ranking. It was like, when's the body get? There it is. But yeah, we have a season 6, we have a 4, we have a 2, and we have 2 5s. I'm gonna go season 3. I'm gonna go something from season 3, and I think this is definitely one of the best episodes of all time. I think Karen thinks I'm gonna go one direction. I'm gonna go in another direction, maybe. Because there is another one that I know she knows that I love that I'm not sure if like everyone else would.
Hoping you're picking one of the two I'm trying to decide between right now.
Okay, then I'm gonna pick it. The Prom.
Yes. Okay, good.
Okay.
Now I can do the other one.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think The Prom is definitely one of the best episodes. I think it's totally deserving to be in the 12. It's not a season finale. It's not one that's like, you know, up there with the Emmys or, you know, rocking with the Emmys or, you know, the greatest episode ever or anything like that. But I do think it's definitely up there. I love it so much because it is really kind of like, you know, the whole idea of what's going to happen with Buffy and Angel. You know, now that Angel's back, like he knows like he can't really like be with her. And so with that idea, they've been just trying to figure this out. They had like secret relationship and it's all out and stuff. And then they're just realizing like, this is just something that's not going to work. So Angel makes the decision to leave and they have like a brilliant, you know, beautiful discussion about it. And then, you know, at one point he just goes, look, when all this is over with the mayor, I'm going to leave and that's it. I'm just going to leave. And so after that, you know, you're just not expecting it. But at the very end of the episode, you get the prom, you get the class protector award, which is like one of the 1-2 punches of like emotionality in this episode, where if you're not crying when Jonathan hands out the class protector award, I don't know, you're not paying attention, I guess, because you know it's one of the cutest, sweetest moments in the whole show. You know, when it's like, you know, we may not know you, but we know what you do for us. And you know, Buffy thinking she's probably not as appreciated as she should be. In fact, in this whole thing, you know, you see his brother later, but you get like you get Tucker Wells hellhounds that come out and start attacking, and she's like, you know what, I'm not gonna have like my perfect prom moment. I'm gonna start crying now. I'm not gonna have my perfect prom moment, but I'm damn sure gonna make sure that everyone else can have their prom, and I'm not letting some little nerd stop this. And she, you know, she does, and then, you know, but at the end she's there, she gets the class protector award, and then, you know, she doesn't think it's going to happen. An Angel shows up in his tuxedo, and he's like, you know, this doesn't change anything, but I couldn't miss this. And they dance to the Sunday's Wild Horses. In fact, it's the exact song that Carrie and I danced to at our wedding, because we had to. And I don't know, it's just such a beautiful moment. That's the second punch of the emotionality that if you're not crying at the class protector, you're totally crying when you see Angel there in his tuxedo and then them dancing together. Such a beautiful moment where you know that he's leaving, but the love is always going to be there. In fact, you get to see more brief moments with them later in the show, and you know that they'll always love each other. That's like kind of what love is. It never leaves, even though Angel has to. But also, you do get some other great moments, or at least one other great moment in this episode with between Xander and Cordelia, because they've since like broken up and had all their stuff happen, and then you get to see a different side to Cordelia, where she's now like poor and stuff like that, and instead of being like the kind of the rich kind of asshole character that she is, and a lot you certain throughout the show you get to see different sides to her, and I love how they have that side to her as well, where she's very vulnerable and trying to hide it to save face, but then you have Xander realizing, and then this is another great Xander moment where he gets to pay for her dress, and I love that even though their relationship ended in not a great way, they still have that little moment together. So yeah, The Prom is one of my favorite episodes, and yeah.
Stacey, what do you say about The Prom?
So, I mean, I think it's obvious that it's a yes for me, since I was very happy that you took it, and now I'll take the other one I was trying to pick between. My biggest trigger when it comes to like getting choked up and crying is people getting appreciation and recognition that have not been getting it for a long period of time. So when she gets the Class Protector Award, I'm a mess every time. Like, it just, I don't know why that kind of stuff always gets me so much, but it does. And the only other thing that gets me like this does is when everyone bows to the hobbits at the end of Return of the King. It's like those two moments are like, I'm done. When Angel shows up, I'm already crying. So I just keep on crying because, again, it's like a good cry. But yeah, the stuff, like, it starts with kind of him being like, he's not going to go to the prom too. Like, even when there's, even before they break up in the beginning, when they're still together and she's talking about the prom, he's like, what are you talking? I don't care about prom. I'm like, 200 years old, like whatever. And then I believe it's in this episode that her mom goes and talks to him. And and she says, like, there's no future for you guys. Like, you need to let her go because she's not going to do it. And that's, kind of resonates with him. And it's after the mayor has previously kind of said similar things too in an earlier episode. So even though like they break up and it's sad and he says he's going to leave, it's at the same time, you're like, it's right. Like, there is not a future for them. And to give her any chance of any normalcy in a relationship ever, like, he can't be there. And it's really because of his love for her that he's leaving, which is beautiful, but sad. So yeah, an absolute yes. I love this episode. It's definitely in my top 10, and good pick.
Thanks.
Dylan, what do you say about The Prom?
I mean, we said yes to all of these. We got to have some
I
no's
know.
eventually. We got to have some no's eventually, but then Chad picks my favorite episode of my favorite season, so I have to say yes. It is great for all the moments you said. The Class Protector is my favorite moment of the series, so that's great. I'm also a little jealous that Chad did bring it up and that I didn't get to, but I will gladly say yes because it's an amazing episode. The Xander Cordelia moment is really nice, and honestly, that's a lot coming from me because I don't love Xander as a character. I love Cordelia. I'm kind of the opposite of Chad. But I know you love Cordelia too, but I view him as an asshole and her as the more redeemable, rootable figure. But I do think it's a really nice moment, specifically because he doesn't make a point to tell everyone and tell her that he did do it. Yeah. It's kind of this more subtle nod, and that's what makes the moment great. Because I think if he were to just be like, well, guess who bought your dress? Like, that would have been very, I would have clawed my freaking eyes out. But I think, the fact that she's like has this really wholesome moment where she's really like touched by this, and then to see that he did it, but it's still a little unspoken. That's what the magic of that moment is, which I love so much. Exactly. It's all in the subtlety, which I really, really like. It's all that. And I think I like moments like that most in television is the more subtle moments. Even the class protector, which is a grand gesture, still feels very subtle and small compared to the grand stakes of the show, because it is just the classmates and her. And I think that's also very important considering where we go next, which I'm not going to tip any picks, but the very next episode, I won't name it, but a big part of that episode relies on the student camaraderie, which I think it's vital to set it up with this moment here. The class protector is almost the catalyst for that to work as well as it does. It's kind of like the moment where Neville talks to Voldemort as Harry is being held in Hagrid's arms before that final surge, that final battle. The moment where Neville cuts the head off the snake has more of an impact because we heard that speech given from Neville beforehand. That's the device that Jonathan's speech to Buffy gives in this case, prepping us for that final battle, which I think is very important. So it's the calm before the storm, and that's why I love it so much. It's why I love the episode of Game of Thrones where they're all sitting around chatting about what their lives might be if they win the battle before the battle itself, more than the battle itself. Like I think those episodes are very underrated, and that's why I'm glad Chad brought this one up, because I don't see it on a lot of top 10 lists, but it should be, and I love it.
It definitely should be.
Dylan, thank you for bringing up one of my favorite things, Harry Potter, and a ranking of my other favorite thing.
Kiri, what do you say about the prom?
Yeah, definite yes for me. Like Chad said, the song that plays when Angel shows up to dance with Buffy at the prom, we used as our wedding song. And I think overall, this is just a really beautiful episode. Yeah, like the class protector part is just the sweetest. The fact that Buffy just like goes off and, you know, saves the day really with like, she's kind of on her own. Everyone else is at prom and like just hoping Buffy succeeds. And, you know, she just goes off, saves the day, and still makes it in time for prom, which I love. And, this moment between her and Angel, I feel like it just like, I don't know, for me, it symbolizes like the fact that even though they can't be together at this time, or maybe not ever, that they'll always have that love for each other and they'll always be there for each other.
And JPO, what do you say about the prom?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get some more no's in the second half. Yeah, for now, it's another yes for me as well here. As everyone has already said, those major moments absolutely hit, absolutely land, making this a memorable, really fun episode. So I'm going to say yes.
But that, Stacey, what is the next episode you're going to bring up?
So this might be the first one we start getting no's on, but I'm going to go with another season 3 episode, one of my favorite heart episodes, and that is Amends, the Christmas episode. If Buffy doesn't really have Christmas episodes, but this one does take place at Christmas time, and that's kind of important. They're having this big heat wave. It's our introduction to the first, which is the season 7 big bad. Angel's being tormented. They don't really know what's going on. Him and Buffy are kind of estranged at this time. They're not really back together yet. They've been kind of on and off at this point. Like they were kind of together, and then she kind of said she needed space shortly before this episode, or maybe even at the beginning of the episode. I don't know exactly the timeline, but yeah, he's being tormented by the first, and he's going to kill himself. He goes out to the sun to kill himself. They've been in this horrible heat wave, but it snows, and the sun does not come out, and it is a beautiful, touching moment. Her trying to convince him not to do it is a fantastic moment as well. At one point, she slaps him, and it's perfect that she slaps him. She's like, snap out of it. Like, you're being an idiot. But also, I love you and you're great, and don't kill yourself. Yeah, and they're walking back through town in the snow, and I just melt. They melt. I melt. I don't know. I love it. I love, and I don't know. I'm guessing the plan was not to bring the first back later originally, since this was so far in advance. And like I said, they had a change of network and everything in between. But it was such a strong concept that it ended up working so well as a big bad later on. And I think it worked fantastic here as his tormentor. Dylan's like, I can say no now.
No.
Well, Dylan, what do you say about me?
I am saying no, but it's not because I think it's a bad episode. I don't think there are many bad episodes. There are only stronger or weaker, not weak, but weaker episodes.
Yeah.
And I think just up to the ones we put through, this does not rank amongst those ones for me. But it's also because I'm not a big Angel fan, because I also haven't seen the show Angel. I only can judge him off of his 3 seasons and 2 or 4 episodes later in Buffy. So it's one of those things where I'm not as connected to him as a character in general. I think once I watch Angel, I might have just a deeper love for that character, and this moment might hit better. And it's also because I think of the moment more than I think of the full episode for me here. But it is a great climax. Like, it is an emotional one, regardless of how invested you are in him. And it's a really important story of mental health in a decade where mental health wasn't really as widely discussed in media. And I think they could have even gone further, but the fact that they're tackling just like these themes is very awesome for the time. So I think it's a great pick to bring up. I personally wouldn't say yes, but I do like the episode. I think it sets great groundwork for what's to come, because I also don't think Angel in the beginning of season 3, I feel like he's just kind of there filling space. I don't necessarily know the function of his character, because they've done so much great grieving in the first half of the season, to where this is where I finally understand his purpose in the season, which is important as well. And I think his arc with Buffy only gets stronger after that too. So I do like the episode. It's just not one of my personal favorites. So I will say no, but it's great. And snow in California, how convenient. That's all I'll say. Leaving the physics and science out of it. I like it. It's great.
The
Carrie, what do you
powers
say
that
about it?
be needed him to live, okay?
So they said the one time in 100 years it's going to snow in California will be today. No, I love it. It's great. It's great. But it's a no. Sorry.
Kiri, what do you say about amends?
I really like this episode. I think I'm gonna say yes to it. It wasn't on my original list, but I'm thinking about it. It is such a good episode, and I love that ending so much. And there's a lot of other things that like happen in this episode, like everything with Willow and Oz that happens. Like, I don't know. It's just a good, unless I'm mistaking it, I'm mixing it up with another episode, but I think there's some stuff with Willow and Oz that happens in this movie.
Yeah.
I like that Joyce and Faith wind up, just spending Christmas Day together. Yeah, I do think though, like the struggle that Angel has is really relatable, and I think it really kind of resolves for us as the viewers, like, Angel did all these really horrible things, and there's not very much like accountability or anything. This kind of like wraps it up a little bit. We kind of see the inner turmoil that he's facing. And I love the snow part. I think it's great. And like, it's meant to be like this little crazy miracle that happens that lets Angel live. And I love I like Buffy's face when she realizes it's snowing in that episode. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think, does a great job of just like, what the heck is going on? Like she's having this really emotional moment, and then it starts snowing like very unexpectedly. But yeah, I think overall this like, I don't know, this I think sets up like Angel's character moving forward into his own show like a ton, and I think it's a great episode for that as well.
JPO, what do you say about amends?
I'm torn, Malcolm. I'm torn because again, this goes to the strength of the show. That it's a great episode. It's a great final moment that they really catch it off guard. That works really well. I do have some things higher. I'll leave it up to Chad. So it's a small no for me. Pressure.
Yeah, I know. I'm on the same thing where I actually really, really, really love this episode, and it's specifically for the exact reason Stacy brought it up: is the Buffy Angel stuff, the Christmas thing, and then I think it's one of the greatest ends to an episode in the entire show. So especially if you put it up there as like some of the greatest moments in the show, I would definitely say the ending of this is, because like I got goosebumps when Stacy brought up the episode. Just thinking about Angel wanting to give up his life, and then Buffy pleading to him, and then all of a sudden starts to snow, and then just makes it just makes it so special. And then Angel's like, I'm wanted, I'm here for a reason kind of deal. And I just, I just love that so much. There's a lot of other great stuff. Like Carrie brought up some other great stuff about the episode with Joyce and Faith, and Oz, proves that he's a great guy because Willow's like ready to sleep with him, and he's like, no. When we're ready, we'll do that. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. And so yeah, you have a lot of great character moments in this episode. So I'm definitely torn. I'm gonna give it a slight yes though, because it's such a good episode.
It's going to make the list.
So we have 5 more slots, right?
Yeah. But Dylan was the next episode you're going to bring up.
Yay. Cool. I forgot it was me. What do I want to do? I think we've gotten like a lot of the big heavy hitters out, so I might go more personal with this one. I'm gonna go with. I just have to make sure it's the right season. I have the episodes written down, but don't have the right seasons written down. Let's see. It is season 4. Okay, yeah. So this says a lot because I don't love season 4, but there are 2 highlights in season 4. It's Hush, which we talked about, and it is also Who Are You, which is gonna be my nomination here. I love this episode. I think it's great. It's a return of a character that I feel like Faith is such a complicated character.
Mhm.
I don't really want to say I love Faith, but I love her character. I love the arc, and I love the journey, and I love the complexity, even though I don't enjoy her. Like, I don't enjoy what she does. I think she's a bad person, but I do think this whole episode is very interesting because it let us first get more Faith when we felt like it was kind of shortchanged, and also just such a fun acting exercise to see Buffy and Faith switch and see that kind of personality shift of Sarah Michelle Gellar having to play, kind of meaner, a little naughtier, and then Eliza Dushku playing a little bit more sweeter and innocent, even though they do things that the other characters would never do, but that adds to the charm of just the acting exercise. Like, they're not fooling us, the audience, but it's just so fun to look at all the different I can never say this word, intricacies, yes, of their characters and their quirks. I love them, and I just think it just really sells. They just sell it so well, and I think one of the moments I love also is this is also the episode where Tara's introduced to Buffy, and I love how Tara's instincts can immediately just say, "Nope, that's not Buffy," which I love. Or I don't know if she says it in this episode, but she definitely says it a few episodes later, where she's like, "I knew that wasn't Buffy." I think that just says a lot about Tara and how much she understands just people in general. She's a very underrated character that I think is underserviced in the show, but has really great moments, and this is one of them for sure. So yeah, just a really fun episode. I think I just really enjoy it because there is also a danger to it. Faith is now with the group, and there's that danger of Buffy not being able to get in from the outside. She's almost trapped, so it does add some actual drama as well. But I think I enjoy it more for, I don't want to say a gimmick because that has a negative connotation, but for the device that it plays of the body swap. I love body swap films and premises. Freaky and Freaky Friday. I just realized Freaky is a play on Freaky Friday in this very moment. Yes, those 2 films, but also this. So Who Are You? Season 4, episode 16. I found the season episode number. So that's going to be my nomination.
Kerry, what do you say about Who Are You?
Yeah, this wasn't on my list either, but I do really love this episode.
So hard.
They're all good. They're all good.
I told Chad, I was like, I'm not saying yes to anything that's not on my list, and now here I am. But I think I'm going to say yes to this one. I do. I love this episode so much. I think, like, Sarah Michelle Gellar's acting in particular is so fantastic in this, but Eliza Dushku as well. Like the way they're able to switch their characters and they just mimic each other so well. You it's not Buffy, and it's not like they're in each other's bodies. It is really that mirror scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar is like, making all those faces in the mirror and trying to there's the line she says like over and over again. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But that's really good. The scene with Faith and Riley, it's like disturbing, but also I think it reveals a lot about Faith's character. That she just like, when Riley says he loves her, she just like panics and she's like, what are you trying to do to her? Like, I don't know. I think it reveals how much she's lacked love in her life, but also I think to me, it shows deep down she cares a lot about Buffy and she's like concerned about Buffy. I love the Willow and Tara scene in this, the spell that they cast that was like the closest at the time that Buffy could get to a sex scene, a same-sex sex scene. I think it is like, and like you said, Dylan, the fact that Tara picks up, and it is in this episode, Tara picks up on the fact that it's something's not right. It's not Buffy. And she like, and Tara's such like a shy character. She could have taken what Faith said to her in the bar and just like completely shut down and like just been like down on herself. But instead she's like, no, I know this actually isn't the person it's supposed to be, and I'm gonna help like help Willow to like fix this and figure out the problem. I love it as an introduction of Tara to the rest of the gang as well. So yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I love this episode.
JPO, what do you say about Who Are You?
Similar to last round, I do like this episode because I have things a little bit higher. No, for me personally.
Yeah. Chad, what do you say about Who Are You?
I mean, it's tough because I love the fact that Dylan loves this episode. Honestly, it's kind of it's not part 1 and part 2, but this is part of a 2-part series of episodes. But I also love the body swap. I love that because I mean it's such an interesting dynamic between Buffy and Faith because Buffy is the good slayer that, like I said, can't even has to have Giles do her dirty work for her and stuff, and then meanwhile Faith can kill a human and just feel bad for a second, but then kind of like shrug it off as like part of the job, and then Buffy's the one that's going to be like, no, what we can't just do that. And so like to see like their dynamics like play together when they have to be in each other's bodies. And I think it's like a really, really interesting thing, and it's definitely a great acting challenge for both actresses. And Carrie hit on a lot of other stuff with like Tara and stuff in the episode. I do think it really, really rules. It's just one of those things to where like I want to say yes to every single Buffy episode, but like for me, personally, I throwing a list together of like the ones that I'm like, well, these are all timers, and here's a few in here that I sprinkle in as ones that are more personal, that I think are just like phenomenal. And this isn't one that I wrote down, so I will give it a slight no. And I guess put pressure on Stacy there, but it's just because I can't say yes to every single thing and then still get some of the other ones that I wrote on my list on, even though I wish this were a top 144 rankum.
Stacy, what do you say about Who Are You?
It's down to me. I have to make the decide. I missed JPO's, like I didn't hear what he said, if he said yes or no. So I wasn't sure if it was coming down to me or not. God, I really didn't want it to come down to me. This is on my list of 32. But it's not in the top half. Like the list isn't really sorted, but I have stars next to like definite yeses, and this isn't a starred one. And I actually have it listed, as Chad said, it's kind of a 2-parter. I have it listed with This Year's Girl, which is the other half. Oh God, I don't know. There's just so many good ones. It's so tough. I mean, we're at a point where there's not, I don't think, are there any left that I'm going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this isn't on the list, or are these just all pretty much ones I just really like? I think we're pretty much down to ones I just really like, for me anyway. For the performances, and I think that, I mean, Faith is such a complicated character. I don't like her. I mean, I like her in theory, like, right, I like that she's a badass and stuff, but I disagree with everything she does. Like, she does not make a single good decision. But I think a lot of her turning bad is her not being able to deal with the fact that she killed somebody, because if she actually lets that in and deals with it, then she'll be a mess. And I think that's where all of the fact that she kind of turns bad comes from. And we've had these moments with her and Buffy, kind of like vision dream moments, where they're making a bed and talking about little sis coming, and it seems like they're getting along, and those are really nice moments. So then when she wakes up, you almost think that maybe she's gonna be good, but then she finds this device that the mayor left and is like, oh, sorry, I'm gonna get out of here before the council or the cops can get me. The performances, I think I have to say yes for the performances alone, to be honest with you, just because they're so good. And the stuff with Riley, I think it starts to show the cracks that develop later down the line, more into season 5, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that I'm going to say yes, but I have a feeling I'm not going to say no to anything.
With that, who are you is going to make the list. Kerry, we go to you for your next nomination.
Okay. I'm going to go with an episode from a season we don't have an episode from yet. And I'm going to go with Prophecy Girl, which is the end of season 1.
Good job.
I think I know a lot, like season 2 is where the show really found its footing, but I think the last season of season 1 is where it really set up for developing that footing in season 2. Like, I think this is just like a phenomenal episode and a great season ender. I think the scene, like Buffy walks in on Giles and Angel talking about how this prophecy says that she's going to die, and she just has this scene where she is upset and angry, and she's like, I'm 16, I don't want to die, this isn't fair. And I don't know, that scene is just heartbreaking to me. And she still, even though she doesn't want to, she still puts on her prom dress and then goes and fights the master, and it's just so devastating. And then I love, it at the end, like the entire gang is just fighting together to try to defeat the master and everything that's coming out of the Hellmouth. And Buffy just like surprises him at the end, and she's still quipping, even after she's just been revived by Xander. And, we do get a little happy ending. And I think that's like, this episode is kind of the show in miniature. Like there are these devastating moments, but then there's also this great humor. And a lot of times at the end of the day, the good guys win, which is always, I love. So yeah, that's why I'm going with this episode.
JPO, what do you say about Prophecy Girl?
Yeah, I think it's I'm thinking about it because I didn't necessarily have it on my list, but I think it's fair to have some season 1 representation on the list here. It is a really good one here too, as Carrie kind of touched upon it. It does run the gamut of a great Buffy episode of having a great monologue, dramatic monologue, having some funny moments here, and again having some really good stakes here. Good Scooby fight at the end, which is always good stuff that you see later on. Kind of the first inclination of that. So yeah, I'll go yes.
Chad, what do you say about Prophecy Girl?
Yeah, I mean, this is a 100% yes for me. It's the first episode I wrote down just because I was going from season to season, and then season 1 I was like, well, obviously Prophecy Girl is the best episode of that season, and it's because like the very first episode shows like a little bit of the thesis of the show. It's like kind of we're subverting things. This isn't going to be what you've seen before. And now you're going to see like an awesome girl kicking ass instead of just the normal guys that you see. But then Prophecy Girl comes, and that's when I think it truly clicks that this is going to be something much deeper than you think. It's not just one of the greatest shows of where there's monsters and demon occult type show, horror shows, but Prophecy Girl, I think, is the first notice that you're given that this is going to be one of the greatest shows you'll ever see. and it's because of Sarah's acting and her getting the dress and then being like, after she knows that she's slated to die, she's like, I wish I could actually wear this, and then she wears it to go fight the master. And I love that. The whole Xander Angel kind of like racing to save her, but then Xander has to be the one to actually do it. I think is great. I love all those moments, but yeah, just that like speech that she gives them when she's like, I give up, I'm just a girl, I just want to be a young person and do young person things, and all this can't be just on my shoulders. And I love that whole speech, and it's just so perfect. And this is the first, I think, great episode of Buffy. So yeah, excellent pick, Carrie.
Stacey, what do you say about Prophecy Girl?
I'm gonna say yes. I've got my Prophecy Girl pop right here. So yeah, I really love this episode. It is on my list with a star as a definite yes. I love the ongoing joke about people telling her, including the master, that they like her dress, because he even is like, I love your dress after she's like dead in the puddle. I love when, after she's revived, like she feels more powerful, and yeah, she goes in quipping. He says like, you're dead, and she's like, but I'm still pretty. And just all of those moments are just so good for me. And I do think we do need some season 1 representation, and it is definitely the episode from season 1 to have on the list, which is a big part of why it's on my list as a definite yes. So yeah, I mean, everything else has been said. Though anytime Buffy acts like a teenager and is like, I just want to be a teenage girl, and says no or gets upset about having to be the Slayer and acts like a teenager, I love it, because I think a lot of times in these like chosen one dynamics, that doesn't happen enough. And when it does happen, it's kind of looked down upon. But I love when they let her be a teenage girl. And quite frankly, what 16-year-old teenage girl is not going to be like, F you guys, I quit. That's how they're going to be. So I think it's great.
Dylan, what do you say about Prophecy Girl?
Yeah, like I said earlier, Becoming was really the episode where I was like completely, utterly hooked. But I do think Prophecy Girl was like that great taste beforehand. Like it was the best episode of season 1. It ended season 1 in a really strong place. And I do agree. If we're gonna have season 1 rep, we should definitely put this one of all the season 1 episodes on the list. So it's a yes for me.
That Prophecy Girl is going to make the list. JPO, we go to you. What is the next episode you're going to bring up?
All right, I'm going to actually go for a finale here. Get out your crayon box. I want to nominate season 6, The Grave. I'm sorry, wait, is that right?
Just great.
Yeah, that's what I was like. That didn't sound right since I said it. I think it's a good combination of the season here. It starts out, you think it's going to be kind of a light season because you got Jonathan, Warren, and Andrew just as like these nerd villains, and then of course the dark turn with what happens to Tara here. And I think, hey, if any of us were witches or warlocks and our loved one gets taken, yeah, I'd probably go dark too. So like it's very relatable as well here. I've always enjoyed Jonathan too as a character here. Maybe an honorable mention later for one of his first big episodes. But yeah, it's Giles gets a return. That's a big fun popping moment here. At this point in the actual Buffy timeline, I'm watching from week to week at this point too. So I was definitely giddy when Giles popped back up. And then too, I just do love that final moment here of it's not Buffy, it's not even really a fight that stops it. It's Xander. It's Xander of all people in his heart. And the relationship to Willow, who, wants the world to burn because her loved one was taken here. And, that's how the world is saved here. It's not from a fight or anything. It's from her best friend talking to her. So I always thought it was a really great finale. So I'll go with Grave.
Grave or Brave?
Grave.
Grave with a G. G is in Gary.
Yeah, that I just thought I'd check because all I heard was the rave part.
Oh, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Rave.
But Chad, what do you say about Grave?
Yeah, honestly, season 6 is one of my favorite seasons. It's a very it's not a very common opinion, but I really love it. And I love like this like later half of the season where you get the spoiler, the Dark Willow turn. And I love when that happens, because then you have like a series of episodes that just kind of play out. It almost seems like they're all happening at the same kind of time. Like, the end of the previous episode, you get Giles' return. And then you have one of the best Buffy Giles moments where Buffy just has to like,
Darian is like, go cut your hair.
yeah, but then Buffy has to sit there and like tell him like, these are all the things that have been happening. This is the right episode, right? She tells him all the
Yeah, but they're
things
talking
that
about this
happened
one, yeah.
in the whole season, and like and she thinks that he's going to be really upset or like, be angry, and he just starts laughing, just bust out laughing, and then she's laughing, and they're just like laughing together, and like it gets to the point where she can't even like get the words out because she's laughing so hard. And it's just like, it's in a season that a lot of people are very down on because it's so real and because it's so dark, and there's not a lot of like hope and love. I think there's love there, but it's a very dark season. You get some great levity here, and I think it was very much needed. Just kind of like how with Once More with Feeling was, towards the beginning of the season. You get a great moment here with that, but then you have all the other great stuff with Dark Willow, and everything culminating into her about to end the world, and then you're like, oh shit, okay, she's really going for it. Like, the whole Tara thing happens, and then to end her pain, she has to end the world. And and when people, I know people have their issues with Xander, but since he's a character that I truly love, this is one of the big moments in the show that I bring up oftentimes when I'm on a big Xander defense kick, when I'm like, yeah, but Xander saved the world. Okay. So and I love that he does it in the most Xander way, where he's just like, kind of joking, but like not like where he's like, I love scary veiny Willow, I love, crayon breaky Willow, and just like being very kind of silly and playful with her, but also like taking her attacks and just being very like, hey, if you're gonna end the world, you're gonna start with me, like one of the people you love the most, right here in front of you, kill me if you're gonna kill the world. And then he saves the world with a hug. And I love that so much. This is really a fantastic episode that I think ends a very divisive season very well. I'm trying to think about the other stuff in the episode. There's a lot that happens, but I think and there's like a big fight with Willow and Giles. It's really cool. Yeah, it's amazing. I'll let other people talk.
Stacey, what do you say about Grave?
So this one actually isn't on my list of 32. It is a great episode, and those end moments with Xander, and she does say like, Xander, get out of here, and he's like, where else would I go? You're my best friend. If the world's gonna end, I'm gonna end with you. Like, doesn't matter that you're the one causing it. That's where I'm gonna be, is with you. And I think that's all really beautiful. I think it was just a matter of I was starting to try to get pickier by the time I got to this point in my rewatch. So that's probably why I didn't make it, because it is a great episode. But I'm gonna say no so that I can say no to something, because it's not a mess.
Dylan, what do you say about Grave?
Yeah, similarly to Stacey, this was not like in the realm of ones on my list that I was thinking of, but I do like it. It's a good finale. I think that moment between them is nice. The only thing about the two is that I feel like a lot of their relationship is really solidly focused on in like the first 3 seasons, where I feel like once Tara and Anya kind of enter the picture, Xander and Willow are less of a focus, to where, them having that big moment. Maybe just because I don't look for it on the rewatch as much, but like I feel like they could have done a little bit of a better job really honing in on their relationship a lot in this season to make this moment count. Because I think it's stuff that you have to kind of call back seasons back to be like, yeah, they are really that close. Because I think Tara and Willow and Xander and Anya are such sturdy relationships for so long that you almost forget that was like the original friendship there and all they've been through. But it is a cool kind of way to resolve that storyline. It's a very interesting and unconventional way to do that. And yeah, I think it's good. I think because it's the only season finale not written by the guy who created the show, I don't think it necessarily has as much of a strong punch in terms of its storytelling, because I think it is a little messy in places and overstuffed. As Chad said, a lot happens, and I think by nature of that, it does feel a little overstuffed at times, but it's a good finale. It's just not my personal favorite, so I'm going to say no.
Which means it comes down to Kerry if it makes the list. Kerry, what do you say about Grave?
Oh gosh. Okay. I think I'm gonna say yes here. I've always loved this finale, just that it's so different from most of the, I won't say most of the other season finales, because the season 4 finale is not a big fight. But this is so different in the last fight against the big bad of the season. And it culminates in the season that's been so weird with the big bad, right? You're set up to think it's going to be the trio, and then it winds up being Willow in the end. And so I think this was just a perfect way to end this season. I get your point, Dylan. I actually have never thought about the fact that in this season, they don't do a lot of work of Xander and Willow's relationship. And you do have to call back to the prior seasons. But in a lot of ways, I feel like that's almost like very true of your oldest friendships. Like sometimes, life happens and you have significant others, and you don't, text your best friend every day. You don't necessarily see them as much as you used to, but like when it counts, you guys are still, the same people. And like Chad was saying, I just love like and JPO was saying, like, I love when Xander's like, you're going to have to start with me. And Willow just, in the abstract, right, she can do this. But when it comes down to a single person, and the person probably that she loves most in the world at this point in her life, because Tara has been taken from her, she's not able to go through with it. And I also love the other things this season does. It really, like, to me, it like Buffy's journey at the end of this season, I think she really completes that journey of being ripped out of heaven and finally learning to accept that she is back and this is her life, and life can be really, really good. And like she has that moment with Dawn where, they're battling evil, and she's like, of course, Dawn, I love you. I want to be here. So I don't know. I love it for all of those things. So yeah, it's a yes for me.
That Grave is going to make the list. Chad, got 2 spots left. Chad, what are you going to bring?
First on rank them too, where we get no nos. That's great.
Oh, we've had it a couple of times.
Oh, has it happened? Yeah.
So I think we had an episode a few weeks ago. I know JPL was on that. We kind of went very quickly.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's because there's so many good episodes. They're all
yeah.
There are so many, and I'm sitting here like struggling because there's only 2 left. I think I have to bring this one up because it's a very big personal pick. It's one of my favorites, and if I feel like if I don't bring it up at least to see, if it can make it, I'm just gonna kick myself at the end of the day. But it might be one of the ones that does get a lot of no's, just because it's an episode that, like, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't have a lot. It's kind of like, Who Are You? Where it's like, it's kind of a monster of the week thing, but it's a very character heavy episode. And it's one that I love, but it's a character that not a lot of people love. We just talked about Xander, so I'm going to bring it up. Carrie knows. I feel like I have to. I'm bringing up season 3's The Zeppo. This is just has always been one of my favorite episodes, and Xander has always been one of my favorite characters. I think it's because, and I'm not talking about some of the negative things that we see today that Xander does in other episodes, that, you know, make him a little bit, you know, less likable to some. But for me, when I was, you know, coming up 11, 12 years old, you know, looking to forward to going to high school and stuff, I looked up to Xander as a character because I was like, you know, that's the kind of guy I want to be in high school. Like, you know, really funny and, you know, have a lot of, you know, fun friends and, you know, you just have a lot of inside jokes and stuff like that. So I really looked forward to that. And then seeing this episode, I think this plays true to Xander's character. Like throughout the show, we get a little bit of this in season 7 and stuff as well, where he sees himself as the outsider. He is a Scooby, but like he's not special in the way that Buffy and Willow are, and even Giles and stuff. They all have like their role to play, and you know he's mostly just over here, you know, being the funny guy a lot of the times, and it gets him in trouble, you know, and stuff. But then a lot of the times, you know, it brings a little bit of lightness and fun and humor and love to the show. But the Zeppo specifically, the device used is one that I really, really love because it's just really interesting because you get a whole episode of Buffy that's like a different kind of monster of the week going on over here, where you'll never get to see that episode with, you know, Buffy, Willow, and Giles fighting like some end of the world thing that's going on in the school. You get to see clips of it, but it's mostly like Xander, you know, kind of people being like, Xander, just kind of go, you're going to get in the way kind of a deal. Meanwhile, no one realizes that Xander is actually helping save the day because, you know, you have this whole other like zombie guy bully that he runs into trying to form a gang of zombies. Like he figured out how to raise all of his best friends up, and they're going to go, you know, kind of fuck around and bake a cake, which is actually making a bomb, and they're going to blow up the school. And it's just like really tense, really fun. It's a very quirky episode, as a Xander specific episode would be, you know, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's trying to like kind of fit in at first, but then he's just like, you know, I don't know what you guys are doing. He gets a car to be cool, and then he ends up like being like the getaway driver and stuff, and then, you know, he has to start antagonizing these people at the very end, you know, when everything's coming down to the wire. Like, you know, he's under so much pressure that it's about to the school's about to blow up, and then, you know, he goes up against someone who's like already dead, but apparently fears death more than anything because I guess he knows more about it. But like, you know, Xander's just kind of like, I like the quiet. Just one of the greatest lines in all of Buffy, one of the greatest character moments, and I just love how this is an episode that shows that Buffy can kind of like parse out you know, one character and focus on that one character and build them up as, you know, something greater, even though they're oftentimes shoved to the side and seen as not as special. He can be special. And this also plays into a speech that he gives to Dawn at one point in season 7 that's going to make me tear up because it's one of the best moments of the show. And it's just like, you know, we're not special, but we're like, we support the people who are special, and in that way we are special, kind of a deal. And yeah, I don't know, this is a big personal pick. I know not a lot of people love the character. I really do, and I really love this episode. So let's see if anybody else does too.
Stacey, what do you say about the Zippo?
So I actually do really love the Zeppo. I love that the Hellmouth is opening and we don't focus on that. Like,
Yeah.
I just love that conceptually, that literally there's tentacles coming out of the Hellmouth in the library and we're watching Xander run around with this gang of zombies. Like, I just think that's brave in a lot of ways on the creator's side and fun. It is on my big list, but it's not starred, and there's only 2 places left. So I think I'm going to say no.
Fair.
But I do really like it, and I'm glad that you brought it up and that we get to talk about that fact that they do that.
Dylan, what do you say about the Zippo?
Yeah, I think as a device, like in terms of trying to create a new style of episode for the show, which does really play around with interesting style and formula, I think it's a really cool device. But I've kind of made it known I'm not the biggest fan of the character. And I think if honestly, it might have been even funnier if, because I think the merit of like say Snoopy and the Peanuts is that like it's this like quiet little dog that doesn't really talk, and then he's off doing his own adventures. It's like Perry the Platypus in Phineas and Ferb. There's a lot of fun stuff that can be had with like, oh, the quiet one that no one really realizes is there, having their own kind of side quest. The only problem with Xander is like he's not the quiet one that people don't realize is there. It's just the one that he thinks he's more useless. So I think it would have been even funnier of a premise if it was a character who was like, very much in the background. That reminds me of another episode of another character later on, which is really interesting, where it's like, oh, I didn't even realize this character was even a character. And then he ends up being a big bad of a future season, or a fake third of a big bad in a future season. But I think because it's Xander, it's one of those things where, yeah, he's not one of the super powered ones, but he's still like, I feel like a vocal member of the team, and I think they play it off like he's almost ignored, but I feel like Xander hasn't been ignored till now. But I do think it's a really cool device as a episode, as a actual structure of a cool way to experiment with the form. But I also think the encounter with Faith, the first time I watched it was fine, but now having watched it a few episodes later when she rapes him, watching this first encounter again makes it a little harder to rewatch because I know what's coming next. And that kind of stems out of this moment, this encounter. So like that's also a little bit of ickiness. But again, first watch, I like this a lot more than I did on rewatch. But I do think it's a good episode. I'm not going to say yes just because I do have other episodes I like more, but it's not a bad episode. And I think it's actually one of the stronger Xander episodes. So yeah, I would say no, but not a like, no, like it's like a no, it's like it's not a very passionate no, it's a very soft no. That makes sense.
Kiri, what do you say about the Zippo?
Yeah, I had like a list, I told Chad, of like my top 8 or 9 that I definitely wanted on here, and then I had like a kind of sub list of ones that I would also like kind of less important to see on here, but I would still love to see them. And the Zeppo was on that second list of stuff that I would really like to see on here, but it wasn't like a must-have. But I think we've hit like all of or most of my must-haves, so I'm gonna say yes to this, and I'll leave it up to JPO. I really like this episode. And I know Xander can be a divisive character, but I just love the fact that I love this little Xander like side story, like the fact that this whole apocalypse is going on. I love that we kind of see like the melodramatic parts, but out of context, they just feel like, kind of silly and ridiculous, and like they kind of poke fun at themselves. Because out of context, you're kind of like, what are you talking about? And yeah, that final scene where Xander kind of prevents the bomb from going off and like plays chicken with
Jack, I think his name is.
Yeah. I think that's such a great scene. And it's like episodes like this, like because I know Xander is divisive, but I still love him. And it's episodes like this that I'm like, this is Xander, and this is why I still love him.
JPO, what do you say about the Zippo?
Chad, I think me and you need to get Team Xander shirts made because I love this episode here. This episode was legitimately on my list as well. I have always adored the fact that the apocalypse is in the background. I always thought that worked supremely well. Rick and Morty's done it. Even SNL did it. A similar trope like a month ago where, the forefront, there's some crazy shit happening kind of behind it, but not compared to what was happening in the forefront. So I think it's a great, fun, kind of one-off episode as well here, too. That's the kind of great stuff that we got about Buffy is we were able to have these, kind of one-offs occasionally because, you got 22 episodes. You can play around here, and one of the rare, times Andrew's kind of large and in charge for the entire episode, not just for a scene or two, but for the entire episode. I think this is a fantastic and fun episode, so I'm happy to have it on the list.
But that Zippo is going to make the list. And Stacey, we go to you. We've got one spot left. Oh
my god. Okay, I'm so torn because there's 2 episodes I really still want to talk about, and we have no season 7 representation. But neither of the episodes I want to talk about are in season 7. Oh. So it's fun if you guys say no to like everything for now on, so we can just talk about a few more. God, which one do I want to do? I think I will do. There's one from season 3 and one from 6. I think I'll go 6 because we have a lot of early representation. I'm going to go with Normal again, which is the one where she gets poked by the demon and she thinks she's in a mental hospital, and actually almost kills everybody because that's what they're telling her in the mental hospital she has to do in order to stay there with her mother and father together, happily married, and not being a vampire slayer, which in a lot of ways is her ideal. I love it. I love how it ends in a very ambiguous way that is like, wait, is this whole show really in her mind? Is she just crazy? Because it ends in a way that you could have that takeaway. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I just think it was a good way to end the episode. But yeah, I just love how the episode makes you question a lot of things. I love how it tells you a lot about her character in a lot of ways, even, you know, with Dawn. And Dawn's like, I'm not there, am I? Like, I'm not part of your perfect scenario. And I just think it's a great episode in that way, as well as just the fact that it's something, you know, not that there's a lot of like regular episodes, like they're all pretty different, but I like this device and this kind of alternate reality that we look at. That's it.
Dylan, what do you say about Normal again?
Yeah, I like this one. It's cool because they kind of do a similar thing in Moon Knight a little bit. For Marvel fans, and I remember Chad bringing it up, being like, "That's like a Buffy episode. It's like a Buffy episode."
Yeah. I think I said the same thing.
Yeah, I think just with one spot left on the list, it's really us thinking about, is this better than the other 133 episodes left or something? So when thinking about that, it's not for me. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this, is like, do I think this deserves to be the last one? It's a great episode. It's a cool episode. It's a very interesting one, but it's not one I also like go back to if I am going to rewatch like a single episode on its own. It's really cool when it like comes up in the binge, because you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. But for me, it's not one that I go back to as much, but it's I'm glad you brought it up, because it's one of those very unique episodes. And I feel like it's also a very divisive one that gets a lot of hate, but shouldn't. So,
Kerry, what do you say about Normal again?
Yeah, this is such a good episode, but I think with one spot left, and not necessarily that I'm holding out my vote for a season 7 episode, but it would really be nice to see at least one episode.
I'm totally fine with everybody saying no, so we can talk about some more.
Yeah, this is such a great episode, and it's honestly a really scary episode. Like, I feel like it makes you question your own reality, and it makes you question a little bit, like, how much of this show is in reality, even in Buffy's world. It is a really fantastic episode.
JPO, what do you say about Normal again?
I actually have always really loved this episode here, so much so that I technically did fan fiction for it, because I more or less just stole the story and made my own out of the idea. Because then I've always thought it was a great concept, as well as, you know, what if you woke up and you could have kind of everything here. And you mentioned the great stuff with Dawn as well. Didn't see the father for the first time, seeing the mother again too. You haven't seen in a minute. So I've always thought this was another kind of like we said with Zeppo, again, another great kind of just, you know, kind of contained one episode that I think is great. So I'd say yes for me.
Yeah, I mean, just about every TV show, like especially with the deal with the supernatural, has these episodes where a character's in a mental hospital and thinks that nothing's real. Like, as they did that of Charms as well, but they had an episode of Piper was in a mental asylum. Very similar kind of premise. But Chad, what do you say about Normal again?
My fanfic was kind of like Xander, Andrew, and Spike all sharing an apartment together. So you can really tell like where I was at 11 or 12. But yeah, yeah, I'm under the same kind of thing where Normal again would totally be a great episode to have on the list if like it wasn't the last spot. It's on my list. It's one of the ones that I put on from season 6 that I'm like, yeah, I mean, that belongs there. That is an incredible episode. Like, you know, everything Buffy's going through, she might as well believe that all this shit's make believe and she's actually in a mental institution somewhere. And, you know, I love that device for the episode. It makes you question everything. It makes Buffy question everything. And then to see like she actually like, starts to, act in the way to close herself off from that world by killing everyone. You actually kind of find, or trying to kill everyone. You actually like find out like, oh yeah, if Buffy were on the other side, she'd be one of the scariest big bads of all time. Holy shit. Because she's so strong and stuff. When she's like chasing Dawn down, oh my god, dude. It's so scary. But yeah, and then when she has to make her choice, and then you have to see Joyce watch her daughter die is like really, really sad and scary and stuff. Yeah, it is a fantastic episode. So me saying no, is just because, and I'm surprised the Zeppo made it on, because there's so many other I feel like episodes that are like all timers, that us throwing out like personal picks that we also think are great episodes, just goes to show that there's so much there that we could have a whole other rank them just on the other 12 great episodes of the show. But yeah, I don't know. I think I am kind of holding out for a season 7, or maybe a surprise other episode that's like, well, we can't say no to that one. So yeah.
But with that, but normal again is not going to make the list. Dylan, we go to you for your next nomination.
It's actually very convenient that everyone's like, we're going to hold out for season 7, because the next episode I was going to bring up is a season 7 episode. It is my favorite season 7 episode of my favorite character, Anya. She's my favorite character, and I think the episode Selfless, season 7, episode 5, is one of the best episodes of the series. And I know it's not necessarily one of the popular picks from 7, even though it is my favorite. Well, let me make the case for it, just because, we're throwing out passion picks now, and it is partially because Anya is my favorite character. But I think what makes her a great character is her comedy, while also still having this really deep, like, emotional thing of identity and trying to figure out exactly what her place is. What does she ask for in life? What was she given? What did she work for? And how is she able to distinguish herself on her own? And I think that's why, as hard as Hell's Bells, I'm sorry, I'm tipping a pick. I hope no one picks it. But as hard as Hell's Bells is for me to watch, it's important in her growth to show that she, hasn't really been on her own. She's always been codependent, whether that be, her race and her species, or the relationships she has, the friendships, the romantic encounters. And even that, it's hard because she's still just learning everything for the first time. So I think to see kind of this chronicle of her whole arc from like decades and centuries prior to present, to see her growth and also see that comedy, but also understand why she was this menacing villain. Because I think we kind of forget that she was a villain when we first met her, and she had this arc to become a hero. I think it's cool that now in most shows we would see the character as a villain and watch them become good in a way that like we see Spike in a way. But there's a very interesting device here where we watch them become good and then go back to see when they were bad. And I think that's a really cool kind of device, because we only really spend time with bad Anya for like an episode before she's like, likable and lovable. So I think it's really cool. Also, for those who love the musical episode, we get a bonus song. Like, come on. Bonus song. And I just really enjoy it. I also think one of the hardest things that a lot of people hate is the Scooby fighting with one another. And I think it's one of the more, in the show, I think it adds a lot of great drama, especially at the beginning of season 3 with all the angel stuff. The way the Scoobies treat Buffy is always terrible, and I hate them for it. But it really shows this really rich dynamic between these characters. And I think in this episode, better than maybe any other episode, I think is the most I've been conflicted in a Scooby battle, when we have Buffy versus Xander debating whether or not to kill Anya, because it's one of those moments where I am sitting there like, I see Xander's point, I see Buffy's point, and very rarely am I on the opposing team. I'm always usually team Buffy, where I'm like, no, Buffy should not be treated poorly by her friends. But here I'm like, it actually makes sense. And this is the most I like Xander in any episode, because he's fighting for her and he actually has a real legitimate reason to. And I think he honestly makes really interesting points that makes that fight between him and Buffy that much more tense and impactful. So those are my reasons why I love it. It's also season 7 support. I think it's a weak season, but this is one of the shining parts of it. And I really think just as an individual episode, it's a really great character study of my favorite characters. So I wanted to bring it up regardless of the season 7 thing, but it just happened to be season 7. So it makes it an even better case for me to pitch. I know it might get shot down as a no, but I'm going to fight for Anya, just as Xander did. Maybe I'm Xander. I don't know.
Kiri, what do you say about Selfless?
This is so tough because I want a season 7 episode on here, and I feel like if we keep going, we might not get one. But this is not this is definitely not my favorite episode of season 7. It's tough, and I do really like this episode. It is hard to watch actually. And I remember watching this for the first time, and I thought Anya was dead, and then Buffy killed her. I thought Buffy killed Anya. I was like, oh my god. And then I thought DeHoffrin was gonna kill her, and he doesn't. But I love the ending of this episode where Anya's just so lost. She doesn't know who she is without being a vengeance demon or without Xander or the magic box or anything. She's in a place where she really doesn't know what to do with her life. And I think that's very relatable. And then Xander comforts her and you think, oh, maybe are they going to get back together? But they just kind of go their separate ways. And it's so heartbreaking, but it's so important for her to establish herself as her own person. Okay, I'm gonna say for the sake of having a season 7 episode, and it's not my favorite, but this is definitely one I think is a great episode, and I wouldn't mind seeing it on this list. So I'm gonna say yes.
JPO, what do you say about Selfless?
It's a tough one because, again, I mean, to be broken record, everything that's been mentioned so far, no one's mentioned. I don't know if there is many bad episodes, but every episode that's been mentioned has been really good. This is another really good one here. Definitely top tier for that season. I maybe, again, kind of like Carrie said, I also think slightly higher, maybe even a couple from that season as well. So it's a slight no for me.
Chad, what do you say about Selfless?
No, I mean, I definitely agree with Dylan. There is a lot to work with here. That's really good. I get excited when I get to this episode because I love that extra Anya song that you get. I will be his missus is so good. And just the choreography of that and her, transitioning into the wedding dress and singing, it's just so good. I love it when Emma Caulfield sings. And then you have everybody mentioned a lot of the other stuff. I love how you get to see Scary DeHoffrin in it, and then I like the idea of Halfrek telling Anya oh yeah, sometimes men need vengeance too, kind of a deal. There is a lot of great stuff in it. I'm gonna give it also a slight no, just to see, because I'll be completely honest, because Carrie has the next pick, and I think I know what she might pick. Maybe what?
I think you know what I would pick, but I don't. That's not what I would pick.
It rhymes with Dear Rad.
Well, anyways, I'll give it a slight no, and then Stacy will have a chance to end it, or we can keep going. But I do think it would be a great episode to have on the list as well. I think Dylan made a very strong case for it, for sure.
Thank you. Stacy, what do you say about Selfless?
It's not on my list. I have about 4 season 7 episodes on my list. It's not one of them. There's one in particular I definitely think if we're going to represent season 7, we should be going with. I do think it is a great episode. It did narrowly miss my list. It was definitely considered strongly for all the reasons everyone has said. But yeah, it's not on there, so I'm going to say no.
Kiri, what episode are you going to bring up next?
Okay, it's gonna be from season 7. Now I'm trying to think if I should go with the one I think Chad thinks I'm gonna pick, or if I'm gonna go with the one I originally had on my list.
Season 7 is underrated, I
While
think.
While Carrie thinks, can I bring up one more point that I totally
Yeah.
forgot? I was going to open with it because we got on the season 7 train, but I wanted to bring up a Drew Goddard episode because I love Drew Goddard. So
Ooh.
that's why I brought up Selfless. I love Drew
I
Goddard.
do love Drew Goddard as well.
So I meant to shout him out. I forgot. But my favorite writer from that show. So I'm
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll go with the one I was thinking of, and then maybe if Chad prefers the other one that he is thinking of, and it gets back to him, he can do that one, and maybe it'll go through. I like them both. So I'm gonna go with the series finale, Chosen. And I know this one's a little divisive, but honestly, I love the way that the series wrapped up. I think it wrapped up really beautifully. I think people's biggest complaints are there is a character death in this episode that people are unhappy with. I'm definitely unhappy with. It was actually done, and it feels a little out of place, and it was done at the request of the actress who plays the character.
Mhm.
That's how she wanted to go out of the show. So in hindsight, for me, that has that I can live with it. I do hate it though. I hated it at the time it happened, but I still really love this episode. I think it just wraps up the entire series very well. Right before they head into the big battle, the big finale battle, they have Willow, Xander, and Buffy are walking down the school hallway with Giles kind of trailing behind them. And they have a conversation that echoes a conversation they had at the very end of the Welcome to the Hellmouth Part 2. The first technically the second episode of the first.
Harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it I thought it was Welcome. I might be mixed up, but it calls back to the very first season. And that was so cute. And then I loved that this season, last season ended, Willow was so dark. And then this season ends, and the spell she casts, she's the epitome of good. Her hair goes white. And I love how she casts it, and she's kind of knocked out, but she's like, that was nifty. And I think it's so cute. I love the montage where all the potentials are gaining their power, and it's a big woman power moment. I love that Spike, I think this is the only way that Spike can even slightly redeem himself by the end of the series, and how it ends. And then it all ends just, I don't know, I want to super spoil it. We've been very spoilery, but I love how it ends. There's no more Sunnydale anymore. So that's what I'm going with. But I totally understand if you guys say no, I want to talk about more episodes or have a different personal favorite you want to get on the list.
JPO, what do you say about Chosen?
I'm gonna give it a yes personally here. Yeah, I think it's a really nice button to the series here. It hurts, but at the same time, I don't mind the death that's been talked about because it is war. I think it would have been too lickety clean if just majority everyone makes it out kind of fine. You know what I mean? So I think he kind of needed a shocking moment to add to the gravity of the war that they were in. The Spike moment I think is fantastic here. Kind of like Carrie said, it's a good way to kind of end Spike's story here, sort of. If you haven't seen Angel, and yeah, no, I think it works. I think it's a great fun final boss battle here, that it's kind of leading up to. And yes, I'm going to give it a yes. But as said, it's up to you guys if you want to keep going.
Chad, what do you say about Chosen?
I think this is how this works. Where my vote, if I say yes, will end it. And if that's true, I'm going to end it because I think Chosen rules. I thought Carrie was going to go a different way, and she'll mention in her honorable mentions, or maybe I will, the one that I thought she was going to pick. But I'm actually surprised and excited that she picked Chosen because we picked all the finales except for 2. And one of them was on my, actually no, both of them were also on my list. But Chosen, I think rules. It is kind of such a perfect way to end the series. I know that season 7 isn't seen, season 6 or season 7 are seen as being like great, perfect seasons. I know season 7 is like a little messy. I personally love it. I think it just kind of rules, and I love how dark it is and just a lot of things that go on. But yeah, Chosen, I think, is the perfect way to end a season like that, end a show like this, where everything's culminating. You get the whole, complicated journey of Willow trying to figure out like her place in the world with magic, and she goes really dark with it, and this is her big redemption at the end, where she's scared of it in the beginning of season 7, scared of people's perception of her, and then at the end she's like, she's at peace with magic, and she's performed this awesome spell that's really like changed the game. And you got to get like the whole thesis of like girl power, and anyone can rise up and stand up above their like station and like really do something great. And I love how it really sells the theme, or the thesis statement at the beginning of the show, really sells it here at the end. And then when they finally get to the school again, they treat it like as they're all going to talk together, like they were in school. And then Giles like, the earth is doomed. And I just love that little moment that they do to harken back to early seasons and stuff. The Anya thing is kind of sucks a little bit, but it's also one of the things to where it's like people are going to go out, which know why they chose that, but it is what it is. Spike's moment is amazing. I love I love you. No, you don't, but thanks for saying it. Is beautiful. His moment's great. I don't know, just really awesome and epic. A lot of like great fighting and stuff going on. And then one of the great lines, like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? So yeah, it's a beautiful ending.
Stacey, what would you have said about Chosen?
So this is the one episode that if we were gonna only have one from 7, I think it needs to be this one. So I would have said yes. First of all, this starts right where the previous one, End of Days, ends, which is with Angel and Buffy kissing. And then she gives her little cookie dough speech, which is, I love her little cookie dough analogy. And then he's like, do I have to go with the cookie dough thing when he's trying to talk to her? I actually just watched this again. Like, I watched a lot of season 7 today, I'll be honest with you, so this is very, very fresh in my mind. The whole thing with them in the school, and they're in that little circle with our main characters from the beginning, and they're like, what are you going to do tomorrow? And they're like, oh, I'm going to go shopping, and like talking about going to the mall. And then Giles is like mumbling to himself about as usual, I'm just here, no one's listening to me kind of stuff. And he says the world is definitely doomed, in a callback to the world is doomed line, or the earth is doomed. I think the Anya death is, has anybody actually said it? Sorry, this whole thing has been spoiler heavy, so whatever.
I said it.
Because of how her character has been kind of the runaway character, the like, I don't want to fight. I think her death kind of works, is like fitting for it. Even Xander's kind of like, typical of her to do the dumb thing, because Andrew's like, she died saving my life, but which wasn't even really true. They were both fighting when she dies. But I think it really works for her character's kind of arc, that in the end she does fight and die with everybody else. Whereas, like, even she says the first apocalypse that when they were in season 3, when she was human, she ran away. Like, she even talks about that earlier in the season. So I think that's really great. Spike's thing everyone has talked about is really great. I love when all the Slayers are fighting after they get their power, and Buffy actually goes down a bit. She looks like she might be done for. and so they start tossing around what they call a scythe, but it's a freaking axe, people. I don't know why they call it a scythe. It makes me crazy. I'm calling it an axe because that's what it is. Angel calls it an axe too. He's the only one. And they're tossing that around. I love that. And then at the very end, they're all standing there at the crater of Sunnydale, and the sign "Welcome to Sunnydale" just falls in, and that moment's perfect. And they're all talking about what to do next, and then they're like, "Well, Buffy, what are you gonna?" And she just, "Buffy, what are you gonna do? What should we do?" And she just smiles.
Yeah.
She doesn't even say anything. She just smiles because she can have a life now, and I think that's such a perfect ending. There's only so many ways that it can end, and like they did the death thing, and I'm glad they didn't do that again. So it ending in a way that she's not the only one or one of two, I think was perfect. So yeah, I think it's a great series finale in general, and definitely the strength of season 7.
Yeah.
And Dylan, what would you have said about Chosen?
Yeah, I would have said yes to this one. I think it's great. It's one of the better finales for me. I think the thing with Anya, I agree with Stacey in the fact that like I think her character arc has built to the fact that she is mortal and she can die, and her whole fear of it too, that she kind of talks about a little bit, or her confusion of it being mortal. What does it mean? And I think that's a really poetic way for her to go out. So I love the choice to make her fall and be the fallen hero here. The only problem is I think it's just too quick of a death, and it's not a big enough moment, honestly. I think that's the problem with it. It's not that it happens, it's that it happens so quickly, and then Spike gets this grand old big death, and the information I just found out is that he comes back anyway too. So it's like one of those things where I wish Anya had been given a moment, give her some slow-mo, give her like this moment where she has a sword, and like the Neville Longbottom thing. Like if he got the treatment, he didn't die, but something like that. I don't know. But I do think it's a great episode. The Angel stuff, I hate it just because I'm like, I feel like this season has worked so hard on making it about the camaraderie of the team, and if there's gonna be a romantic thing, Buffy and Spike, but then the Angel thing, it just, I never liked it, but it is what it is. And that could also be, I need to watch Angel to get that piece of the puzzle where they must get that, because I don't know why they would just randomly start kissing again, unless they set that up in Angel, but maybe they don't, and then it's even worse. But I do think it's a great kind of overall ending to this thesis of the fact that Buffy, this whole series, it's not about mythology and fictional shit and supernatural ghosts. It's just about loneliness. That's her biggest battle, is she doesn't want to be alone. She wants to have that camaraderie, the kind of the desire for companionship, which is what she gets at the end. And she can still kick ass and do all those things and be the Slayer, but do it in a communal thing. Like it's not just about one hope. It's the exact Last Jedi philosophy of it's not just one hope. It can be all of us. It just the Force lives in all of us, and people aren't ready to have that combo. But it is. I think it's great. It's a great way to end the series that I think is almost an impossible task to end a series of this magnitude and give a satisfying arc to everyone. But I think everyone, kind of for the most part, has a satisfying ending, which is good.
To go back to the kissing thing, if the world might end and you think you're going to die, the love of your life shows up, you're probably going to kiss him.
True.
With that brings us to the end of the nomination portion of this. So on the shortlist, we have Once More, Feeling, Hush, Becoming, The Gift, The Body, The Prom, Amends, Who Are You, Prophecy Girl, Grave, The Zepho, and Chosen. Before we get into honorable mentions, I'll just reveal my top 12 as of end of season 2.
That's my favorite episode too.
Oh, the pack.
So at my personal 12 at the end of season 2, I've got Nightmares. 11, I've got Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. 10, I've got Go Fish. 9, I've got The Pack. 8, I've got Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered.
Nice.
At 7, I got Phases. At 6, I got Rich. At 5, I got Welcome to the Hellmouth. At 4 is Becoming. At 3 is Angel. 2 is Innocence. And number 1 is, which is an episode I was actually really sure was going to come up because I've seen it on a whole lot of other best of lists, and that's Halloween.
Yes. It's on my list.
But JP, JP, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Yeah, just a couple of mine. I really enjoyed Tabula Rasa. Again, almost a body swap episode as well. Fool for Love in season 5, I think it's fantastic as well. Good spike moments there. I mentioned before, Jonathan Earshot. The episode that actually got postponed because of real life events. New Moon Rising, the last real episode of Oz here, I think is tremendously written as well. Again, another kind of the supernatural is kind of on the backbone, so it's more about that relationship. And then I do enjoy both the finales that weren't mentioned here. Season 3, I think, is a fantastic finale, and I actually really enjoy season 4 as well. I like the fact that it's kind of just this. The big bad ends, and now we're just kind of on this kooky, character-driven dream sequence with the cheese man. And it's all over the place, and I actually really love it. And also, too, as you kind of mentioned, too, all the Halloween episodes are really fun, from Bad Candy to the haunted house one where the monster's really tiny at the end. I always love that.
But Chad, was some honorable mentions that you had?
I wear the cheese. The cheese does not wear me. I also have the rest of the episodes. Please watch Buffy if you haven't. But Halloween for sure is a great fun episode. I wanted to put on both Surprise and Innocence as a two-parter because that's such a great reveal, and it's crazy. Lie to Me, because that's a bittersweet, sad, beautiful episode. Has a great final line too. Graduation Day, just because it's a great two-parter for the end of season 3. High School's Over. Restless is also one of my favorite episodes. If I didn't bring up the Zeppo as an underrated episode, I would have probably did Restless. Family, because I love that Tara episode where at the very end, she becomes one of the Scooby Gang, one of the family, and they're like, you have to go through us, kind of a deal, which is perfect. Bargaining, which I said I love season 6, and I love the two-parter opening set of this with Buffy coming back. I think it's pretty epic and crazy. And then also, Tabula Rasa is the second part to Once More with Feeling. It's I recently had friends over and we watched Once More with Feeling and then Tabula Rasa. It's a great double feature. And then I had Normal again on there. Him is one of my favorite episodes of the show. In season 7, it's one of the funniest episodes. It was actually because I didn't start the show at the very beginning. It was my first episode of Buffy that I ever watched, and I was like, I need to watch the rest of the show. Watch this now. Conversations with Dead People was one I thought Carrie was going to bring up, because she tells me how she loves that, it showed the exact time that it was at the night of the airing in the episode, and that's kind of a cool thing. But it's also the other scariest episode of Buffy. Chosen, we brought that up, and then Passion is a great season 2 episode that I love. That's the one where Jenny Calendar dies, and it has this great monologue from David Boreanaz about passion and stuff like that, and just, it's so perfect. We need to do another one of these.
Stacey, what are some honorables that you had?
All right. I have Helpless, the one where they take away her powers for her 18th birthday. I love that she has to use her ingenuity and cunning and not be a superhero in that one. I have Halloween, Passion, The Wish, which is our introduction to Anya and our introduction to bad, maybe gay Willow. I have also Doppelgangland, where the Willow comes back into our world, which I love. Earshot, Fear Itself, the other Halloween episode. Something Blue, the one where everything Willow says comes true. And so the whole Buffy Spike getting married things are hilarious. And Giles is blind, and it's a crazy episode. A New Man, which is the one where Giles is turned into a demon, and Buffy almost kills him. Restless, I also have the season 4 finale, because you cannot beat the cheese man. I have Band Candy, which I love, and I love how much it gets referenced in the future. I have just a personal love that I knew would never end up on any list, but it's just a character thing. I love Buffy versus Dracula, because I love that they have Dracula on the show and how they incorporated all that myth and legend. Then I have Tabula Rasa, Conversations with Dead People, Storyteller, the Andrew episode, and End of Days, the one right before Chosen. I think that's all of them. I don't know. It's enough anyway.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I said I had 32.
I should have put Storyteller on there. That's a great point.
Dylan, what's some honorable mentions that you had?
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at my top 10 and only 6 of them made it on, but that's because there's so many great episodes. But I wanted to bring up Graduation Day. I'm surprised just wasn't even brought up. But again, it's kind of like you go with either that or The Prom as like this great ending to season 3, so I get it. Yeah. But then also, Stacey mentioned 2 of my favorites, Doppelgangland, just because I love the innuendos and the foreshadowing with Willow, but also just the playfulness that Allison Hannigan brings to it. And then Something Blue, just such a fun concept. Yes. I wish you had brought this up, Stacey, because those would have been like huge yeses from me. And then Forever is a really good one. I think we spent so much time focusing on the body that we don't think about Forever, which is all of Dawn's grief and growth, which we don't get a lot of in the body. The body is more centered on Buffy, where Forever really gives Dawn that, and it answers the big question of, well, just bring her back. This whole show is about magic, and them kind of answering that, and also kind of admitting that they could, but is it going to be the same? And we see that with Buffy, with a lot that happens with Buffy later on in season 6. And I think to what Chad said, just that whole beginning first 4 or 5 episodes of season 6 is really, really strong. The fallout from season 5, and then it starts to go into a territory that I don't love, but that first chunk is really, really awesome. Leading up to Once More Feeling, that whole chunk is great. And then also the beginning of season 3, kind of the Angel fallout, that all is so good until they revive him and bring him back and stuff. But that first 2 or 3 episodes, Anne and the party, I forget the house party name, the name of that episode.
Dead Man's Party, I think.
Dead Man's Party or whatever. I love those episodes because it really does show the actual moral dilemmas with the Scoobies that we've never really seen before, which I really like. And then, because I have to shout him out because he's my friend, Larry's big episode Phases, where everyone thinks he's gay. Or no, he is gay, and he thinks Xander's gay. He thinks Xander's gay. He does such a great job, and I heard so many great stories about just filming that episode. And yeah, I love Larry, so giving a shout out to him. And to Seth Green, who I believe that's his first big episode is Oz too, right? Phases, right? Because it's the phases of the moon, right?
Yeah, it's
not his first episode, but his first centerpiece. Yeah. So Phases, because I think Larry's great. He's a good friend. Shout out Larry. I know he's watching. So.
And Kerry, any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I have a few. Restless, everyone mentioned. The season 4 finale, I think it's just really fun and unique. I also had Helpless on my list. I also had Lie to Me on my list and Passion. I think the only one I haven't heard yet, and then Conversations with Dead People. The only couple I don't think I heard, but maybe they were mentioned and I just wasn't paying close attention. I Only Have Eyes for You, which is the season.
I love that episode.
Yeah, the season 2 episode where
so close to making my list.
That was the episode that came out. An episode didn't come out on my birthday, April 17, 1998, but it's the closest one to it. So it came out late April. So that was the first episode that Dylan was ever alive for.
And if you want to see great, just David Boreanaz acting, watch that.
Yeah. And then Bad Girls, the Buffy Faith episode.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, another one I forgot about. Homecoming's great. Buffy Cordelia episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Slayer Fest.
I
love Slayer Fest.
Oh my god, I love Slayer Fest.
Love that concept. I wish that concept came back. It was a whole arc.
Oh, and for all you horn dogs out there, where the wild things are, gotta bring it up. Horny walls.
Okay, I'll say I actually used to think that was like one of the scariest episodes of Buffy because those stuff scared me so much.
Oh yeah,
like
it's
Cordelia. It's like Cordelia and her apartment in Angel.
No Angel spoilers.
Sorry.
But anyway, it's time to rank these episodes. How we do it is write down on the whiteboard on what episode you want at 12, 11, so on and so forth. Ted, what episode do you have at 12?
I don't have my whiteboard, but I'll just be honest with it. This is actually tough. I'm gonna go. Who Are You?
Stacey, what do you have at 12?
Since it's actually the only one I think that wasn't somewhere on my list, I went with Grave. Even though I think it's great, like it seems so weird to put that at the bottom of any list. But
Dylan, what do you have for 12?
Yeah, these all feel bad because they all could be number one on a given day. But I went amends. But
Kerry, what do you have for 12?
Yeah, I also feel that because I love all of these. I just get that out of the way. No matter where I rank them, I love
I
them.
know it's so hard.
I also said amends.
JPO, what do you have for 12?
It's up to Stacy because it's a tie. Who are you?
So, Stacey, do you want Who Are You or Amends at 12?
Who Are You is the last one. Sorry, I can't. Amends, no. That's
fair. That's fair.
We move on to 11. Stacey, what do you have at 11?
I'm just going to keep it with Grave because that's easy.
Dylan, what do you have at 11?
I'll join you there at Grave.
Kerry, what do you want at 11?
I kept mine at amends.
JPO, what do you have at 11?
I have Prophecy Girl.
And Chad, what do you have at 11?
I love all three of those episodes, but I'll go amends.
So, JPO, it comes down to you, Grave or Amends at 11?
Amends.
Dylan, what do you have at 10?
I'm sticking with Grave.
Kerry, what do you have at 10?
Yeah, I'll go Grave.
JPO, what do you have at 10?
Prophecy Girl.
Chad.
Oh, this is so tough. I feel like Grave is probably going to go soon, so I'll go Prophecy Girl here.
Stacey, what do you have at 10?
I mean, you knew I was going to go Grave. I thought that was a given.
But Grave is going to be at 10. Kerry, what do you have at 9?
I'll go Prophecy Girl.
JPO?
Prophecy Girl.
Chad?
I'll ditto that.
Stacey?
I went the Zeppo.
And Dylan?
I also went the Zeppo.
Chad, what do you have at 9? 8.
This is one of those things. The Zeppo is one of my all-time favorite episodes of all time, but like this list is freaking stacked. So yeah, I'm fine with the Zeppo being 8.
Stacey, what do you have at 8?
Zeppo.
Dylan?
Zeppo.
Kerry?
The Zeppo.
JPO?
How dare you get the Zeppo?
Oh God, what do we have left? Hard.
So many great episodes.
We have the
Yeah.
first. We have the first 6 on the list, and then
Chosen. That's what I thought. Okay.
Damn.
But Chad, what do you have at 7?
I don't know. Malcolm?
You gotta commit.
Can you just go first with the Zeppo?
Yeah. I'll go The Gift. Gun to my head, I'll go The Gift.
Stacey, what do you have at 7?
I went with Chosen.
Dylan?
Yeah, I'm going season 7 at 7. I'll do Chosen as well.
Kerry?
Yeah, I've chosen.
And JPO?
To the prom.
But Chosen is going to be at 7. Stacey, what do you have at 6?
Now I have the gift because it's deciding between the two last time anyway.
Dylan, what do you have at 6?
I was doing the same. I was choosing between the Gift and Chosen. Stacey and I are the same wavelength, but yeah.
Yep.
Kerry, what do you have at 6?
I have the prom.
JPO, what do you have at 6?
The prom.
Chad, what do you have at 6?
I cry more during the prom, so The Gift.
That's weird.
6.
Wait, what do we have? Okay, so we have the
We've
first.
got Once More Feeling, Hush, Becoming, The Body, and
Okay.
The Bomb left.
Oh God.
Right? A great top 5.
Dylan, what
This
do you
is my
have?
actual top 5, I think.
Yeah, this is all of my top 5 except for one. I have Who Are You in the top 5 in replace of Once More with Feeling, so I'm just gonna go with my list. So I'm going Once More with Feeling.
Kiri, what do you have at 5?
The Prom.
JPO, what do you have at 5?
The Prom.
Chad, what do you have at 5?
Yeah, I'd be okay with The Prom at 5.
And Stacey, what do you have at 5?
It hurts me, but I have the Prom because I just couldn't put any of the other ones below it.
Kiri, what do you have at 4?
Oh my gosh, I'm not ready.
Oh.
Okay, this might be controversial. I'm going Hush.
JPO, what do you have at 4?
I said Becoming.
Chad.
Okay, Carrie voted for, so we got Hush and then Becoming. Oh my god.
You can go your own way.
I
Also,
could go my own
I almost saying that, but
No. I'm trying to just figure out what the hell. Oh god. Oh! I'll go Becoming.
Stacey, what do you have at 4?
I actually went Once More with Feeling.
Dylan, what do you have at 4?
Yeah, Carrie's got to break the tie because I also went Once More with Feeling.
So Kiri got Becoming and Once More Feeling tied for 4th.
Becoming.
Hurts my heart.
I'm sorry. It hurts me too.
That's the only reason I put Once More with Feeling. I usually say is my top 3, but I was like, I don't think I can put Becoming down. That's just my heart.
I wanted it to be in the top 3.
Yeah, same.
But Stacey, what do you have for 3?
Once More with Feeling.
Dylan, what do you have for 3?
Once More with Feeling.
Kiri, what do you have for 3?
A Hush.
JPO, what do you have for 3?
The Body.
Chad, what do you have for 3?
I was actually also going to go The Body.
So Kiri, The Body or Once More Feeling at 3?
Oh my god. Once More with Feeling.
What?
I don't know what to do here.
That's episode. All right.
This is a real Sophie's choice.
Now we vote for 1.
We're
Right.
voting
Yeah.
for number 1 between The Body and Hush.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's impossible.
Are we going favorite or best?
Whatever you want.
Oh god.
That's not
up to
helpful.
you.
I have the
That
same
doesn't help.
question. Like those are two different answers.
I'll say I went best when I made my last decision.
All right. I'll
You
put
do
best.
whatever you want.
JPO, what do you have for number 1?
I have Hush.
Chad, what do you have for number 1?
Yeah. I think Hush is the number 1 for sure.
Stacey, what do you have for number 1?
I put The Body, but I'll be very happy for Hush to be number 1.
Dylan, what do you have for number 1?
While one of them is my favorite episode, this is I think the greatest episode. I put
That's what I did. I went with what I thought was the
Kiri,
best
what
one.
do you have for number 1?
I have The Body.
All right. That works.
What a crowd.
I mean, I
pleaser.
do. I mean, I wasn't going to think Kiri.
It's
Kiri was
so
going
good.
I mean, considering Kiri was trying to get Hush lower, I didn't think she was going to go Hush as number 1.
Yeah.
But that the top 12 Buffy the Vampire Slayer episodes. At 12 is Who Are You? At 11 we've got Amends. At 10 we've got Grave. At 9 we've got Prophecy Girl. At 8 we've got the Zeppo. At 7 we've got the Chosen. At 6 we've got the Gift. At 5 we've got the Prom. At 4 we've got Becoming. At 3 we've got Once More Feeling. At 2 is Hush, and number 1 is The Body. But with that brings us to the end of another episode of Rankum. Next week's episode is going to be top 12 Chris Hemsworth movies.
I need to
This
be
might
on
have to
that.
do a twofer, yeah.
I'll do it all by myself.
But Chad, where can people find you online?
Oh yeah. Speaking of Buffy, check out Welcome to Primetime. where I'm trying to port over some of the Buffy episodes from the Nerd Entertainment Network where we used to be. But yeah, it's me, myself, my wife Carrie, my buddy Hunter, and we normally talk a lot of horror movies and stuff a lot of the time. But sometimes we'll talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer because Hunter is a very new fan of the show, and we're still trying to get him to finish it. We're in season 7, and we've been ranking all the episodes and stuff. And we had a lot of great time doing it. And Hunter is also loving the show, so that's great. So if you love this, go ahead and check out our episodes of that as well to see more thoughts on all the episodes. Also check out my channel, Chadwick Webb, where we rank stuff on You Ranking With Me. It's been a while since we released an episode. We have a lot of episodes that we've done, and then we have more in the works coming up soon, very soon. Also check out the Dill Pickle Movie Network. I'll let the man down below describe most of what goes on over there. However, I do a show on there mainly called Picture This, where we are going through all of the Best Picture nominees that have ever existed, all the ones that we can find at least, and trying to watch all of them and see what we think. How often are the Oscars right? I don't know. Watch Picture This to find out. We are doing 1957 coming up very soon, which was really fun. And we most recently did, what did we do with Carrie? We did, 82. Because we're doing the classics, so there you go. If you love classics, and check out my letterbox and all that. And I love Rankum, so watch more Rankum.
Stacey, we can view for you online.
Well, I'm at Stacey LM78 on all of the social medias. Hopefully, I'll be here in a week for Chris Hemsworth movies because I've seen literally all of them. Yes, even Cash. Huh? What did you say, Chad?
But she has to be on the episode.
I have to be on it. I think there's still some of the Dill Pickle Movie Network's subathon individual episodes that are yet to come out.
The rest are coming out this week, so she'll be on two of them. One's coming out tomorrow, and one's coming out later.
Okay, yeah. So the Framework of the Raven, and then the Draft Day. And yeah, I think that I don't know when it will be, but you'll see me in another Buffy ranking sort of drafting show maybe next month or so. And I'll be around.
Dylan, we can be on you online.
Yeah, you can find me at the Dill Pickle Movie Network channel I started years ago that has blossomed and bloomed in so many beautiful ways. Chad and I do a show there called Picture This, where we have guests all the time. Carrie, as we just said, guested on the last episode, which was awesome. We do a drafting show. We do trivia. We do a frame wreck show talking about So Bad It's Good movies. We do a Marvel show. We do so many shows over there. So go check it out. And I did do a surprise Buffy review as part of the subathon, which I will air separately this week. And yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching this. This is fun.
Carrie, we can be on you online.
Yeah, like Chad mentioned, we do a show called Welcome to Primetime. You can find that on YouTube. We talk all things horror. And I have some trivia matches coming up or that maybe have already aired on Why We Love Horror. So you can check those out too.
JPO, we can be on you online.
Thanks for having me, Malcolm, as always. Find me on my channel, The Pierce Co., as we do lots of movie trivia countdowns as well, top 10s. We're continuing the yearly tag team movie trivia tournament. Round 2 has begun, so we're having a lot of fun with that. And similar stuff over at Pierce Wrestling, exclusive matches, interviews, and things like that. And if I'm all over the place, I think me and Chad will be talking Sandler sometime soon, the other iconic 90s guy. So,
And you can find me on Take Productions hosting Rankin every week. Next week is Top 12 Chris Hemsworth movies, as mentioned. And you can also find me hosting trivia over on Full Metal. I will airing tomorrow is going to be Jacob Cameron versus Joseph Olivas. And it definitely is going to air tomorrow. I know I've hyped it up a few times, but it's scheduled, it's ready to go, it's all uploaded. So yeah, and you can also find me popping up on the Movie Here with Net from time to time. But until then, keep doing what you're doing and enjoy watching movies or TV shows. I don't really and keep being random.
Jeez, who died?